All right, and welcome to Chimerian's Musings. This is volume 6. And unlike usual formats that we would usually do, is I would scroll back through the Chimerian's Musings channel and we would start archiving into what he was talking about at the time. This is a special night as we are going to discuss a segment we did from, what was it, Thursday night?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, yeah. And had a lot of people email me or say to me, we just like we don't want to take a game that far. We don't play a lot of D&D. We play other games, and then they explain to me what the game system they're playing, and they might as well be playing D&D. They don't play for very long. They play for 6 to 8 months, and they quit.
Yeah.
And guys, they're blowing up in the channel. Hey, Hungard Storyberry and Barrett G Rock Nerdy Ogre and the Crafting Gamer. And I thought tonight we'd probably delve into that theory crafting because Kai is trying to throw some stuff at us on Wednesday, and he wasn't in chat he wasn't in panel to voice the need, the desire to play mid and high level games. And that's certainly along the lines of what I wanted to talk about in future domain level play. And before we go, I have to showcase something. This is a gift that Crafting Gamer, a friend of the channel, has bequeathed me. And
That looks cool.
this is really fucking cool. He's got the grommets right. He's got the gold filigree. It looks like he's got his theory crafting down for the color, the shading, all of that. Oh, Manal, how you doing? But tonight we are definitely going to talk with Chimerian about high level play. Manal, I will be talking about Skeletor and Skeletor like things. Just trust me on this. And I'm going to do something about Evil Lynn before she gets too much older. The last thing I want to do is be kissing a wrinkled bitch like that. Yeah.
Make sure to feed it so it won't stay angry.
Yes, I have to. You have to feed them. Otherwise they get bitchy and complain. They complain a lot. You don't want that. You don't want that.
No.
And Hungar has
New
informed
shirts.
me that he has new shirts.
Awesome.
Have you seen the other shirts that Hungar just put out?
So the ones that were up on Wednesday.
Okay.
I assume there's more. Oh no. What more do we got?
Now I'm getting fat too. I saw it today on the video.
I'm trying to lose weight, but that ain't happening.
I like chicken and watermelon.
Yeah.
I like that. Fried chicken and watermelon. Oh, hell yeah. Don't kill yourself. That's low key not good for you. No cap. And I got a special going on. So let me put this in the chat. If you guys like the idea of funny teas, go here right now. Go there, and you're going to get a special offer: $16 instead of $22 for regular T-shirts, and that is a hell of a deal. What are you doing in my litter box? I could see you actually wearing something like that.
Probably.
It would be like that. I could see that.
Probably.
I could see Carmen wearing this.
Do you want to share the screen so we can all see too?
I'm not sharing the screen.
No.
Damn you, kid. Okay.
No, that one, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I could see her wearing this color, you wearing that color.
Yeah. Hey, it's my sandbox. I take shit.
I like fried chicken and watermelon too. That's great. That's
Yes.
great. I'm actually kind of hungry for fried chicken now. Don't kill yourself. That's low key not good for you. No cap. If I had $1 for every racist joke I told, I'd probably get robbed by a black guy.
Ow. Ow.
Oh. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Hmm.
And then I said, no way that cost $20.
Cost 16.
It cost me 16. You ladies out there. Yeah, the female should fit shirts. Do a little bit more of that curvy accentuation. She'd take off and nuke them from orbit. Peace.
Ow.
So if you guys go over here right now, Hungar will hook you up for $6 per t-shirt discount. $16 t-shirts.
Don't be a dick.
Take time for yourself. Take a walk. Relax. Smoke some meth. Have you a day.
And this
Relax and eat.
And this is a better sponsorship commercial than any Raid Shadow Legends or World of Warships commercial you're going to get.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yep. Don't be a dick.
Speaks for itself. It's great. It's great. She said chivalry was dead, so I challenged her to a duel. Don't be sexist. That's wrong, and being wrong is for women. Hungar's gonna have. He's gonna have a whole bunch of people after his ass. Ukraine. Yeah. I'm gonna have to buy that shirt. Straight pride. Remember, you can't hear a fart in space. No ham. Bloody afro. This one here is great too. And I'll get out of here after this. But who doesn't want to see Pepe being hauled around by the Black Coat Brigade? Thank you for telling me about the fact I wasn't sharing it there, Kai.
No problem.
I didn't mean to be a chode.
No worries. I thought we were all playing along at home with the home game, I guess. That's what I thought.
RP Grandma's painting herself a space fleet, maybe Battlefleet Gothic, or maybe what's the one by Mantic? Is that Armada?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Bo Paint's minis at? I thought I saw him.
He's around here.
Hey, Bo Paints Minis, how you doing, sir? There we go. But is it better than Squarespace or NordVPN? So,
Maybe Audible or
so Kai, I'm gonna go back and talk. She's talking about Red Alert Fleets. It's a UK game. Okay.
okay. I'll look that one.
I'm gonna go back and talk to you about something you and I love quite a bit, and that's domain level play. There's just something great about that when you're playing a game where you actually kind of have a bigger scope than just the 6 or 8 of you around the table. And even though it's just a 6 or 8 of you around that table, there's actually like a set of sub games in there to where you affect a much larger scale than just whatever dungeon delve you're doing this week. Where did you first discover domain play? What was the first time that you ever got into something like that in a tabletop game that was not a board game designed by like Avalon Hill, or somebody had brought it to like the tabletop RPG you were playing? What was the first?
It would actually have been really early because we always, I guess, because of the fact that we were always, and we had a lot of interconnectivity in the early days in high school. We had a lot of like little, little schemes, little side gigs that we were all trying to, because we had a core of individuals in our early gaming group that were always thinking about what's going on in between sessions. So when because we did the time skips, like, well, you got 5 days or 5 days or 6, X amount of period of time. And there were the few people who were always sitting here. And we always joked about them as being the people who were, so what are you doing? I'm sharpening my sword. I'm, goofing off. And we had like 3 or 4 of us who were really into maximizing our time because of the fact that we were I don't want to say low-key PvPers, but we were always waiting for the betrayal by somebody else. So it was like a Mexican standoff without having guns drawn. And so it was always about being like almost like playing a game of Go, not chess, Go, where you're just setting your pieces up around a board, but it's a 4-way Go game. And so we were instantly like, we weren't instant, but we were starting to develop our little tricks on, because we all realized early that knowing what's going on, having ways of communicating, ways of traveling, allowed you to do more than just sit there and reactively get your butt kicked by a GM who's going, well, I gave you all the clues, you didn't do anything with them. And, because this is once again another one of those, I'm going to get the doll out and say, where'd the bad GM touch you moments, where we were all, playing a good old fashioned, happy, fun game of Dungeons and Dragons. And, well, and we're all trying to go, well, obviously everything, this is I'm way young at this point, like maybe like 13, 14, and having a nice little game of, oh, we're all happy there. And the GM is like, here's a few stray plot points. And we're like, well, we'll get to it in session. But because we didn't do it immediately in session, we got our butts kicked by it. And which immediately provoked us all into, well, we'll never do that. I know Kingmaker came way later. So we were like, this is like proto Kingmaker when we were still playing with Birthright rules.
Yeah.
And
I remember
Birthright's trash. But I love it, but it's trash. But it, the thing is that Birthright's trash in retrospect, but when you were at the time, that was the rule set you had. You didn't know better. And we modified it because you had to. But the thing was we always were getting into building our underworld contacts, a network of spy agencies. Yeah, I know the Harpers existed, but nobody likes the Harpers ever. I don't know anybody who know. There's not a person I know who knows about the Harpers who likes the Harpers. They're just annoying.
I had the book, the black book for Forgotten Realms that, you had all the various black books, like they had the Draconomicon, the Harpers, the Seven Sisters, shit like that. With the splat books. The splat books for FR and second ed.
Yeah.
And it was an okay book, but by the time you finished reading it, you really didn't have a good idea about them unless you had read the miserably edited and poorly thought out books for the Harpers in the Forgotten Realms canon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a problem because I would get bored reading those books. They were not as good as I wanted them to be.
But now, it's like, so I think in high school we were all in the proto stage of figuring out how to do it properly, but it wouldn't be until a combination of two things. One, I came back and started running Legend of the Five Rings, and we went. We had Star Wars. We had contacts around and built up little alliances and networks of connections, and we've built guild houses and things. But when I threw L5R, because that game has in it a very rigid system of clans, families, vassal houses, and other things, we were suddenly in a very tightly run, interesting game engine that works really well. And at the same time, this is back before I became a forever only GM. We were also playing at the same time Elysium, because we were all White Wolf players, but we didn't want to. We were tired of the street level grindy, grimy, day to day, just try to exist in the misery of the modern era of White Wolf. The GM rewound time, and we were playing Dark Ages Elysium, and the game moved very slowly through time. We were doing like a 5 years, and then like a 25-year gap, and then another year or two of being awake, and then another half a century off. So that way we were moving through time as the campaign was rolling, and it was building organizations. It was trying to write up all of your orders for your minions, all of your just everything that you were trying to do. So that way everything kept rolling, and that way it made the betrayals more interesting. And because it was just a way to slowly push it. And because that Elysium game was so good and my L5R game was so good, we all kind of refined that skill of how to do generational play. And at the same time, I had a different GM who he was a big fan of the here's your 6 months of playing your character, but we would play those characters up to a point that we would find a lull point, a point this is where I embraced it, the mentality of, if at any point you look at all 5 people at the table and ask, what are you doing? And then they all say a downtime or a non-plot moving statement, that's when you do a time jump. And you move the time. You let people have as many months or years as they want to have. So raise families, do side things, do weird gigs, and then you look over at what everyone's telling you and make it. You gotta tell them, hey, just itemize it out on a timeline so I can follow along what you're doing. And then at which point you just click in and go, okay, at this point so and so says this. And then suddenly time starts back up. You hit from ×5 speed down to ×1 speed again, and now we're back to playing the game again. Or you go, hey, we're still playing in the same world, same campaign, same everything, but so and so's kids are coming of age, and we're going to swap over to this person's the most interesting person right now because their kid is now turning 17 and is becoming an adult. Would you all like to be? And at which point, the story moves to that person, and everybody else makes characters around that character. Because not that 17-year-old is now the protagonist, but they're the most interesting person, or they are the next generation. And then suddenly everybody goes, well, of course I would have had kids or married, and then you kind of fill in new characters or people who want to stay in, creating this dynasty that rolls forward through time. And so this all kind of combining together to, well, now I was like, why do I need to stop telling the story of a world? And slowly the world that I grabbed parts of all three of those campaigns and just kind of squeezed them together, and they formed the nexus to the campaign that I would run for the next 20-something years. And it's like those three, that all those concepts and all those things all rolled together. And there's there's so much I've forgotten more than I will ever use, that I will ever throw at players today. It's been centuries. Why do I need to remember? It's lost to time, and you know what? Records get lost. But those three things all kind of combined together, and it also gave us ways to continue to give new players a way in with low-level play, but to let the players who have earned the ability to be high level to actually stay playing high level, to engage. Yeah, they don't get to come out very often, but it's fun to be able to go, and now a world-ending threat high enough to justify why your archduke level character is now able to do something more than just sit there and count rocks all day and go, hi Moss, how are you doing? Talk to plants. And moving forward like that, and it creates but it takes so much time to keep it all running. And the thing is that because players know that once you've invested a character, that they're going to be around for a very long time, and it actually prompted players to not play younger lived or short-lived races, because of the fact that I'm willing to do 10-20 year jumps in timelines and keep the story moving. Your character who only lives for 45 years might only have 2-3 pivotal points in their entire life before they're dead, and your goblin might die of old age in between a time jump. But I guess the high-level domain play is also a way to fun, because without playing the grindy dungeon crawl all the time, where we're always told, you're going to suck for the next 7 months of real-life time. You're going to play a class that's going to suck. It's going to suck for the next 5 levels before you get cool. For 5 levels. But remember, you only level once every 4 to 5 sessions. So you're going to play for 25 sessions. So 6 months to a year, you're going to play. Okay. Pacing. Combination of in what way would you like to have you go through it? I guess when it comes to pacing, the story, since I leave the players are the ones who are, I have what would might be considered to be major story points that once they happen, they're on their own. They operate on. I wish I had them out. I had it out, but I will work out flow charts of what's going on in the background of key points, and once a certain timer hits, the timer starts, and I will. Oh, I'm working on something in the back. Okay, where did I put it? Okay, over here. No, I'm working on a system to try to pacing the game. Game pacing, my players really are the ones who who are in control of the pacing. If they want to take 3 or 4 sessions to go through 2 days, that's up to them. I would prefer it to go a little faster, but because of the fact that I do keep track of conspiracies and rather large, and some of the timelines that I will have setting up will say this event will take approximately 2 to 3 years of prep time, and there will be small points at which I will inject clues that I'm trying to crystallize this into an equation so that way players can see it without it all being in my head. But in essence, what once a player hits plot hook, I will throw clues out. Oh God, how best to session flow. Session flow is simple. We all come it is just literally, all right, guys, here's where you're at. What are you doing? Again, if they're the ones setting it, and once they set me the pace, I now know how granular I need to make the events for the session to make it roll forward. And if they want to hit fast forward, I know there's gonna be one person at the table who, like, out of 8 people, I'm gonna have one person who goes, I don't want to fast forward. Well, you've been overruled by everybody else. At which point the players who know better go, rather than getting all pissy off, well, I wanted to do shit. I'm like, keep notes on your notebook. Just know that we've skipped 5 days. You have 5 days to do whatever you want now. It's, in essence, I'm letting people bank up. It's like, I encourage you to write me and talk to me outside of game. But always remember that the only amount of time you have to spend is the amount of time that I've given you in game to play. So if the party chooses to skip 3 weeks, well, the smart player knows that he now has 3 weeks of banking, but he has to make sure that he doesn't overwrite what's already happened, which is why all my players love to have forms of communication, forms of transportation to get information in and out, so that way they can operate things through followers, minions, and through other resources, so that way they can actually affect plans and schemes. So they're trapped with the party, in some desert, in some mountain forest on a wagon guarding donkeys, but they're also quietly elsewhere running an organization, running a newspaper, gathering intel, working with thieves, working with the State Department.
Why do my friends always have donkeys as a potential focal point of a campaign?
I don't know. I was listening to the campaign earlier today, and everyone was talking about, we need to go steal some donkeys.
We had donkeys, and then the fucking GM says a bunch of mosquitoes rise out of a swamp or out of a pool, and they just go and bats. A bunch of bats come out of the cave, and they took our donkey from us. They killed it, and I'm like,
I know.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but look, it's because of the fact that the classic joke of help me find my ass. I can't find my ass. There's a whole party of us, and we still can't find it. I mean, can't find your ass. I'm with 2 hands and a roadmap. Yeah. The donkey is there. It's that thing. Also, I remember earlier your early campaign where your party was hiding in a cave as a bunch of donkey handlers.
That campaign would have been great if fucking Greg hadn't killed off all the fucking donkey handlers.
Oh,
He got so pissed off because I had a character in the party that talked just like one of our coworkers, and Greg was like just kind of brand new to this job, like less than 2 weeks there, and he already hated Mike, which I don't feel bad about saying his name, his actual first name. The guy pissed you off when you talk to him because he'd say something and then like you expect him to go do work and then you find out he's got a TBI, traumatic brain injury, and so whenever he tries to do physical labor, it doesn't quite come out right. So we'd send him out, just go locate a hole for us, locate the septic tank for us. He'd fail that. And so he'd like, well, just mow the lawn in the company parking lot for us. He couldn't do that. Well, just help me on a job site. And he about pumps out the entire contents of the tank out of the yard of a customer. So I'd spend an hour irrigating the yard to help massage that stuff down into the top 5 inches of the soil. That was just a pain in the ass. No, crafting gamer, I typically don't primer my models. I typically will do a test first and see how they take. And Reaper, it's a little different than other paint because, like, with Army Painter, like I do like Army Painter's metallics, but like if you don't have it absolutely ready, if the dew point's too high, this stuff slides off. I've never had that happen with Reaper.
That's true. But no, but no. To get back to my session flow question, it really just comes to I'm trying to. Usually, a session will start with me trying to slow. Here's your 5 minute the 5 minute cold open recap. I give people a chance to set the agenda that they want to hit. If they don't have an agenda, and because I will have in a notepad how many more if a key point was forgotten or picked up or misinterpreted, because I am happy to give what I have the truth of what's happening, and then I will give a small hint of what's happening. Because I guess I'm going to frame this in a different way. I assume most of us have read Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know how it starts. It starts with oil fire. Everyone's figuring out what's going on. Everyone comes to a conclusion. That conclusion is wrong. And suddenly things are happening. People are putting together the wrong information, and it's slowly everyone's heading to the same point, but the conclusions are all coming together. But some people's estimates are off by a bit, on by a bit. Information's coming in that's changing the focus and putting it together. Misdirections are happening, and it slowly all comes together. And it's only because some idiot walks in front of a taxi cab, a car on the street corner, and gets hit that suddenly, oh shit, the last minute point. Unfortunately, most of us as GMs, we don't run any of the previous 6 months of the problem. So we don't give, hey, there was an oil fire. We don't give our players a chance to go, hey, batteries are being, there are no batteries available in Russia. I'm just using this for example. There's no batteries in Russia. Why is that and most people, why is that a thing? Why should I care? Why did 3 mid-ranking officers get executed for readiness? Why did this happen? No, we as GMs always throw the problem at the players at some guy walked into traffic and got hit by a car. And that's the clue that most of us GMs give our players. We don't give any chance for anyone else beforehand. So I like to set up my problems as far back as, to use the example, the oil fire, the refinery explosion. So
that entire thing happened because a bunch of Islamic militants.
Exactly.
They were, if I remember right, they were Kyiv and like what the Ukraine is now. They were from that area, and
they were from the stands. They're from the Uzbekistans and the
yes.
They're from the stands, not Ukraine, because they're like out in the Siberian areas.
That's right. And then if like the other people that were in that attack, if they would have been praying aloud to Allah, it stated specifically italicized, that would have saved them instead of getting murdered by the terrorists. If they would have found out that they were possibly killing and affecting other Muslims, that would have saved them. Yeah, and that I always felt was like a really important point of that entire attack. That helped shape my young mind when I first started reading Red Storm Rising as a teenager.
Yeah, and the thing here is that think of it as how we as GMs tell our stories. Though we almost never give the threat before it manifests. So what I tend to do is like I'll throw it. Like a case in point, when everyone's goofing off and having fun, I'll throw out a hey news report out in Archangels. There's currently, which is a barbarian area full of horse people. There's currently, some rumors coming out of there from some traders, and then I'll mix that in with like 4 or 5 6 other news reports, rumors coming in from all over the world. It's like, hey, so, there's a current problem. Or case in point, in one of the colonies, there was a small little not uprising, but it was a small little disturbance that turned out to be a bit of colonial police brutality that turned out to be the spark for a major uprising. But because it was mishandled, misread, the party just made a bad assumption, because you know how players just try to go with the dumbest, low-key just understanding of what's going on. So you know how it's like, or the northern, another point from my world, like the Southern Horde is currently just gathering up troops for another assault into the Confederacy, and suddenly everyone goes, well, nobody cares. It's just another orc invasion. No one gives a crap. And like the Confederacy always handles it. That's never going to be a problem. And then have these little points start to, like, we're on the other side of the world. We don't care of a new demon lord who's rising up out of the Shadowlands. That's normal. There's always another lord out there. And by giving these small little points now, I can slowly start drip feeding information and keep throwing out small little bits. And I make sure that I give information overload, because that's the truth. There's just information overload. And a few players understand that they need to have people on the ground who are not them, who are going out there to gather information for them and work with. So I'll open, each session with here's some tidbits, here's some information that you can deal with. And most players blow it off because most players don't pay attention. But I want a few to go, I'm going to write that. I'm writing that down. I don't care if you write it down or not. I've got it written down. I'm going to move with it. And the plot's going to move slowly forward at the pace the party's going at. So it might take, in my book, 6.5 months for everything to fall into place. And as the timer gets closer, once it gets from like 6 to 3 months, a few more details of the evil plan is going to drop. Because you can't hide everything. Because if I suddenly go, the Musings Empire is currently on a mass buying spree of X material. Like, so when a party goes out there and goes, hey, we're going to go buy some new materials, go buy, better armor for ourselves and new special materials. And suddenly I go, oh, the entire market's dry. And they're like, what do you mean the entire market's dry? That's not possible. Craftsman Wadi exists. And we have at least three Dwarven miner contracts. I go, well, there's one miner contract. I have one Dwarven miner colony that's not bought out yet, but the price is through the roof. I mean, you can buy your materials, but it's going to cost 600% over price. At which point the party can go, well, why? Who's buying it all? And I'm going, well, the Musings Empire is currently buying up just everything. And at which point someone can go, why the hell is it? Well, we don't have the money to be able to compete with, most players. Well, I guess we don't have the money to be able to compete with the, I with an entire kingdom. So I guess we'll have to either find an alternative, but I want a player to go, well, why is the Empire, suddenly buying up all high quality X material? And so I'll do little hints like that, or, hey, we're looking for, because I've been often jokingly referred to as a GM as being the GM who cares more about the price of toilet paper in China, so that way I can figure out how to make a deal to make more money, because money is everything. Money is power. I know this, and so I care about the question of, hey, how much is linen in this area, or how much is X price? How much can I make off of like 4 tons of this shit, and throw it in a cargo hold and ship it back and sell it off for a profit? I understand this stuff, and so I'll throw this information out there. Now, mind you, the players might have their own goal, and we always end up getting into an adventure, some kind of hijinks, because I try to make sure every session is has at least half the session being hijinks. They may be small vignettes, and those vignettes can explode into being full blown stories. They might decide to get into a fight with a halfling gang. Sure, why not? They might decide to run into an awakened emu who decides that it wants to eat an entire grain, it and its flock want to eat an entire grain train. So the party, has to figure out how to stop or help an awakened emu. I mean, these are weird shit that they do. And at that point, that becomes the adventure. That becomes the session. The weird stuff happens, or if they all just sit around and say, "I don't know what to do," then I'll ambush them with one of the many NPCs that are probably in the area. You might run into the advisor to the local barons actually someone evil, and now you got to deal with the fallout of that. And there's usually all problems that all roll out from these points, and they make it like there could just it's the players really do set the pacing. I have the plots. They choose the pace on how they want to interact with the plot, but the plot also moves moves despite them. So if they choose to do nothing for a day, the plot moves forward a day. And then there's a certain point where the timer goes from months to weeks to days to completion to hours. And depending on how fast the players are choosing to when the party chooses to engage with the plot, depends on if they're reacting or they're being proactive. I would prefer my players to be proactive, and most of them realize proactive is better than reactive, because once it goes from you've lost the initiative as player characters, as the protagonist, you are no longer the protagonist. You're now the reaction, the person I'm going to beat up until you manage to stop the plot and then wheel it back to you. And I've had players who have wantonly ignored the plot until the plot hits their front door and burns down things. But I also like it when the party sees the plot just before it acts, and then tries to either stop or divert the storm before it smashes into them. So it seems like if I don't have smart or proactive players, it may take a while for the players to get things moving. And because I don't like to be the GM who beats you to death. It's like, I don't want to hit you and ambush you, so I give you plenty. And if I do ambush you, and I've had players go, "Where the fuck did that come from?" And then I sit there and go, "Well, let me spell it all out for you later." And because I don't mind people going through and doing the forensics of why something happened, and then finding out that these 6 evil forces were all conspiring in the background. And yeah, I know, but the thing is that I like when my players want to take time and get granular. I really do like that moment, but they all know that there's a certain point where I've seen players stall, like they're stalling for time. Especially when they can see the clock and know that the game ends at 9, and they know something terrible is going to happen. If in game the time moves a little too if the clock advances too far, and they see that the real life clock is at 8:30 and the game ends at 9, they'll stall. They will pull shit like you're playing in the NFL. We're stalling for time. We're going to run that clock out, because they realize that they're not ready, and they want to have another week. They want a week to think about what the fuck they're going to do, so they can come into the next session ready. And me going, it's 2 minutes to midnight, right? Yeah. Bad things happen at midnight, right? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna stall until 11:59. All right. All right. We'll come into next session ready I'm ready for whatever bad thing's gonna happen, and that's usually how they kind of And no, I can't speed up a game because I want it faster. But like I said, the players do shit. They're the ones who decide if it's going to be 5 minutes, 30 minutes to do 5 minutes. But and I know I can't speed it up. But that doesn't mean that I haven't already written out that X event, that unless the players divert X event from occurring. I'm sorry, but no. If X event is occurring, it's until a player diverts and stops X. X is going to happen. So much like on this day at this time, bad thing happens, and we're just going to keep rolling towards that point. And I do like because I mentioned it in an early Table Breakers episode where I will have like 6 plots all moving at the same time, slowly, incrementally heading towards some evil Armageddon that's going to happen. And there's not like and when I say there's a timeline, I don't have it written in stone, but I have an estimation of how long it's going to take. So I'm going to say, and it has multiple stages. Oh, where did I write down? Yeah. So I'll have my evil plans that I work with, the initial event that causes the problem, the initial planning of the problem, because everyone's got to, the bad guys are going to figure out, okay, this is my goal, this is how I'm going to do it. And they're going to start gathering up, people, resources, materials, and then they're going to start organizing those materials. Then they're going to start staging and preparing. Then they're going to start moving all their evil forces into position. Then the final preparation, and then the actual major evil event occurs. And from there, it's it's no longer hidden. It's no longer you have a chance to stop it. Now you're in react stage. So if I have players who have casted out their own version of the Harpers, the Bronze Oak Leaf organizations, their feelers are all out. They might catch something, that initial twinge of an event has occurred, or they might be able to catch in on the initial planning stage. They go, okay, and at that point they start feeling it becomes this counteracting game of trying to feel out what's happening. And there is scale of you can't watch the entire world; it's impossible. So but you have, because you're not a deity, and even deities can't do it. So I like having that high level play of being, you're having to take so many things into consideration. Plus, you don't have infinite resources. You may have to work on 100 other things. So you might have to let some things fall through the cracks. Like, it doesn't seem like a threat yet. You can't chase every threat. That soldier who's been flown in, who's teleported back into town, and who's currently trembling because he saw some horrible mind, PTSD instilling terror that just happened in some cave out some dirt mountain range. You don't have time to go. If your hobo players who are murder hobos who are just standing in town and talk to some twitching soldier who's currently talking about bad thing that happened, yeah, they might go out and do it. But we're talking about high level, mid high level play. Well, you're busy. I'm sorry. You might have to. I'm sorry, man. That sounds horrible. But if I'm ever in the area, I might look at it. But let's be honest, I'm never going to be in the area. And so that little detail might slip through the cracks. You might not be able to trace the oh wait, that came from this event, which go way back to this event, and so you can't trace backwards and you can't trace forwards, and not a lot of players are very good at analyzing your problems, because most people can at best forensically go backwards and figure out where something came, but they're terrible at figuring out where it will go, and most GMs don't even know where it's going to go. So you can't start plotting out cone of certainty of like where they're going to be at, and so your story isn't going to like. And this is a failing of both players and GMs. So it's like, say the fire giant. I haven't been following your game enough to be able to know the entire plot line of why there's fire giants and everything going on here. And I'm sad to say I don't know, and I'm pretty sure you can give me a vast understanding of what's going on here. But the thing here is that I don't think most players or even most GMs will be able to tell you what are the what caused it, that would be able to give you the information to start analyzing where it could go, and then how you can actually move to try to get ahead of it, to do something to stop it without having to just meet it with full, without having to be a blunt force ending. They can't find a way to, they probably won't have a way to be able to find their supplies, find out who's responsible, find a way to divert and slow things down, and then have a plan that's 2 steps ahead and try to work around this. Like, most GMs aren't going to give you that option because they're more interested in giving you combat, rather than realizing that problems are an encounter, and working a problem that takes 3, 4, 5 sessions or even months of real time to work out all the details and to put all the pieces in place that's a campaign module. Just being able to figure out what's going on and then making sure and sitting it all out there. You might only get 2, 3 fights out of the entire event, because I've seen players who kind of stupidly, it's just pure combat. It's just moving from one fight to the next, and you never get ahead of it. You never get.
All we want to do is just do combat. We're good, man.
It's just combat endlessly. But the thing is that I have certain players who've realized that we could just go in there and grind ourselves to death. Just meat grinder this thing. Body counts high, and we'll win. We'll end the problem, but we're going to leave a string of corpses. But I have players who have been more on the way of going, we're going to look at it from where can we be the most economical and most efficient in being able to take care of a problem. Yeah, we could just go charging straight in and fight our way through everything. Just spearhead Thunder Run this bitch. And we don't care. We're going right straight for it. But it's more what I've had more players with more success. This is also my bias as a GM, who go, there's no point. Like, they'll see that they're in a fight. The fight's engaged. They know who the enemy. Well, they don't know who the enemy is yet, but they know they're in the fight. But no one's fired yet. No one's drawn weapons. No one's. Every once in a while, an ally or a enemy or an asset gets destroyed or gets murdered, and it's a slow escalation. They know they're in it. The other guy wants them dead. So it's one of those, like, they know the enemy wants them dead. They want the enemy dead, but they don't know who to kill yet. And it's this slow, gradual, and this starts going back to chess. We start moving your pieces around, waiting for the encounter. And so they will choose to not engage. Like, we will have sessions where there's no fighting. There's no, we've rolled initiative, battle mat is out, put miniatures on the battlefield, fight. But they're engaged in problem solving, skill use. We're using Dungeons and Dragons, yes. But we're focused entirely on the skill chart. They're making up solutions, making up what they could possibly use, what assets they need, finding people, finding allies, having a small little skirmish that might be assassinating a small caravan. The only fight we've had in the entire session is them sitting on a roadside and then car bombing a wagon full of nobles. So, that might be the only fight of the entire night, is them surgically removing a wagon of a key noble, a key merchant, and their bodyguards. That will be the only fight of the entire night. Or the entire fight might be an elite strike team of guild assassins show up and try to off the party. Again, it's cloak and dagger. It's much more. Yeah, it doesn't give the. This is why I don't like the idea of games that. Once again, we're going to look at Pathfinder, where fighter doesn't have any resources besides I fight. I'm good at fighting, but I fight. And I don't like the cleric who goes, I dump stat intelligence, so all I do is preach and pray to God, but you have nothing. What do you do outside combat? What do you bring to the table? What can you do? Well, I can do a whole lot of things. I can just make things up but nobody else is getting to make things up. Everybody else is working on interesting. They've built versatile characters who can do a lot, who are making friends based on contacts, their backgrounds. And it's this thing where I like it, but I don't like it at the same time, which is why I've been insulted as a player because I want to play. I've been called, well, why do you need the rest of the party if you're playing somebody who can actually function as a human being? Because we're playing a party game. You're only supposed to play as a party. You're supposed to be an inept cog in a machine. And I'm going, no, I want to have skills. I want to be able to talk my way out of a problem. I want to have social. Yeah, I want to fight, but I also want to be able to do other things. I want to be able to see what's going on in the dark. I want to have perception. I want to have some knowledges. I want to be able to actually not die cold and alone in a forest because I can't figure out how to start a fire. Because I'm obviously the lieutenant. I'm lost. Not all those who wander are lost, but the lieutenant sure is.
Except for the lieutenant, who he had a compass and a map, and now he's dead. A frozen husk on the ground in the snow.
He has hypothermia. He's just lying on a rock going, help me! Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't want to play that guy. And sure, I might play that guy sometimes, but I don't want to play that guy a lot. I want to have skill. I want to have the knowledges. I don't want to have to constantly look over at the rogue and the bard and go, hey, how do I not stupid? And
how do I not stupid?
Yeah.
That's great.
Or how do I not drool on myself in public? It's one of those things where it's just like, but because of the fact that I'm like, no, I want to play a well-rounded, versatile character who's not exceptional, but I passed the ASVAB and I made it to my physical. There I go. That's what I'm aiming for. And I've been told that's asking for too much. Why are you not specializing and being a drooling cog in the machine? I'm sorry. I must have a dex of I'm sorry, I'm a wizard, so I must have a dex of incompetent, a strength of a flea, but I have God brain, and I have a slightly okay charisma. Meanwhile, the rest of the party, we talk well. And meanwhile, if you ask for, hey, can I have people who can score 100 on, just 100 on the IQ test, please? Can I have some people who are smart enough to know that red means stop, don't speed in front of cop? And can I have somebody who can form a sentence intelligently and not just be a brute, a dumb brute? Don't worry, we got a spot via crayon eaters. You can go over there. And I want a guy who can, hey, if I give you a backpack of 100 pounds, can you carry it? 12. A 12 strength. Yeah, can you carry a 100-pound backpack? Good. Can you not fall over if I have a log on the ground? And can you run for a little bit before you go cheeseburger?
I feel personally attacked.
Yeah, okay. Most of us are old and fat, but in our 20s we could probably run a little bit more than what we do now.
I used to do 2 miles pretty easily.
Right, But most of us, but when you have a condom age, that flight of stairs might sound like, oh shit, I gotta do that. And it's just one of those things where I guess but like I said, I've been told by GMs wanting to that playing a well-rounded character with 12s and 14s across the board is, well, you're trying to be too independent. Like, why would you need everybody else? Why would you need anyone else as a party member if you're able to do everything? I go, I can do everything okay. And I have one good thing I'm good at, but I want everybody else to also not be able, to not be wandering around shitting their pants and wondering why they stink. Or, hey, dumb guy, it's okay. Follow my voice. And when I tell you to go charge forward, charge. Okay? Okay, boss. I'm going to go fight him good. And watch the fighter go charging off, and because he's got his 18 strength, 18 con, 18 16 dex, but don't worry, he's got his 8 intelligence, his 8 charisma, and his wisdom of 11. And he's like, I feel good, and he goes charging off to go fight something. Go get him, fighter.
You're gonna ridicule the shit out of me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the majority of the game that I'm writing so far, I've redone some things. I was wanting to release it earlier this week on Labor Day. That ain't gonna happen. But like, I want the average stat to be basically 11. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that sounds lame, and then
No.
you get a purchasing a resource, build points, and for every build point, you can add 25 percentage points to your character's stats. You just add that in.
Yeah.
And you can bump that up for 4 build points. You get that bumped up to a 12. And that's consistent. You might get 40 points over the course of character creation, which 40 character points means shit. You've got 10 ability score points there. If you don't want to burn them on anything else, I recommend you put them on ability scores. And so, like, say this is your prime stat, you wanted to have at least a 15 in strength. So there's 12. Mm-hmm. There's 12 total build points right there out of your 40 that you got that are spent.
Right.
And a 15 is respectable in most games. That's like the starting of sub-genius for intelligence people. Yeah. 150 pounds and an overhead press is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I mean, you're not going to win any like competitions probably, but for the standard man, to be able to put 150 pounds over his shoulders, that's good.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people that they have a real problem with like low rolls. I can't have a 9 in my character array for my ability scores. Okay, well, that's what you got your building points for. That way you get them up to a 10 at least. You don't have a negative. But I want you to have a good character that's viable and fun.
Yeah, I'm not. It's like I'm not bashing it. It's like, honestly, because yes, Baron. I don't want to take away agency. If you do want to play dumb, you're allowed to play dumb. I'm okay with that. You're allowed to play weak, but I don't want like. I've been told by GMs that because I didn't give myself a dump stat and went for 12s to 14s with maybe a 16 in there somewhere, 10 to 16, and your average was in this nice little like chart working out that somehow because I want to be able to know how to read, write, survive, not fall over and do all those things, that somehow I'm not being part of that. I don't need to be glued to my battle buddy at all times just so I can walk across the street. Hey fighter, I know you're dumb. I know all you can do is ride a horse because that's what your intelligence is. I'm a good horse rider. Yeah, I know you are, buddy. What else can you do? Feed horse? Okay. And can you take care of your clothes? No. Can you fix your armor? No. Do you know not to eat the bad berries? No. Okay. Do you know that you should probably? No, I don't. Can you talk well? No. Can you see what's going on around you? No, that's what a rogue is for. Rogue is for seeing things. He is my fire control. He directs me. And the rogue is sitting here, leaning over on his little rider pony. Hey, buddy, yeah. See that guy over there? Yeah, kill him. Yeah, kill him. And then he goes charging off. I go, man, he is the best, dumbest motherfucker I got. And the meathead on the horse charges forward, and everything in a 5-mile radius dies. By the end when he comes back, goes, "Did I do good? You did good, buddy. You did good. Yay! I'm a good fighter. I fought in the name of God. That's right, Paladin. That's right. You did good. That's not evil. Yeah, you did." Okay, hey, what you gotta believe in? I don't know. But I'm doing good. Yes, you are, buddy. Yes, you are. And that's how some people play, and that's okay because you're just a war machine on a leash, and then you need to have the one player who's allowed to have perception. Sorry, who has enough skill points to put in for perception gets to be able to know what's going on. And then everybody walks into town, and I can be dropping out things, but nobody has any form of social skills. Well, I go out there, and at this point, the only way the party ever knows anything is when, oh, hey, look, here you are, guys. You're all I want you to do something. So I literally have to put a Post-it note on the job board that spells out, okay, I need 5 people. I need 5 to 8 retards who are overly armed and stupid to go off to the caves of evil bad Death Stars and go fight them and come back with a chest that you will find at the end. The party. That sounds like an adventure. That's an adventure for you. Go and murder some things. Yay! Murder time! And then they go wandering off. Good for them. Good for them. I like you. Congratulations. You are a low effort. I don't need to actually think about you party. You players are dumb. Or, hey, I know I spent the last 6 months of real lifetime setting up a major plot line, but you've missed all the clues. Here's the clue bat. Here's your clue by 4. I'm going to hit you with it now. And at that point, I literally have to go, and you are all walking out of the bar as a party because you won't ever split up. No, never split the party. And all of a sudden, a wagon hits a dwarf. Boom! And suddenly, now that he's dead, his illusion drops, and it's a drow. It's a drow! Yeah, I know. We looked the body, and you find the paperwork, and it says, tomorrow at midnight, we murdered the king. We gotta stop it. Suddenly an adventure happens. Hey, look at that! I mean, I've gotten so bad. I've had some parties where I've literally had to go, as you're getting off the ship, a gnome gets shot with a crossbow in front of you, and he dies. And the party, why did he die? I don't know. Search his briefcase. We found the plot. I've literally had to throw it at them because I've had incompetent players. I would prefer them to be smarter than that, but I don't. Yes, crayons are yummy. Fuck. And the problem here is that I have such a low expectation of most players, of most players I play with, that I assume that I have to clue by 4 them. I have to have a C-130 a dragon fly over and a crate with the words plot fall off the back of it. Like Air America, and it just kind of crashes through a house, and the plot runs away, and the party just kind of goes, "Quick, get the plot! It's escaping." I mean,
You know, I was running this current campaign I've got 3 years ago, and I was just running them through like not random things. I had things planned out kind
Yeah.
of to where they would, do a little bit of merchant stuff, and then they would find a hole in the ground, and they've got enough of an adventuring party. Uh, they've got like the wet dream of resources with them, with all these donkey handlers and other potential armed guards. With they're good with crossbows. Like for the first 4 levels of the campaign, all the donkey handlers ever used was a crossbow. So after like a season and a half of everybody tries their crossbow shots once a day when the random encounter pops up. You find a rattlesnake. I kill it. I kill it. I kill it. I'm going to kill the rattlesnake. And then, yeah, the donkey handlers were so excited about that. And most of the players really loved donkey handlers. They really did. And these were special people that, they had mental, physical disabilities, but they could ride a horse if you didn't have them make skill checks. They could pull the trigger on a crossbow that was loaded for them. Things like that. They weren't good. They were none of them had a 14 in anything, and nobody had anything above a 14 at all. They were all just nice people that they liked ice cream. That's about it.
I like ice cream.
And so the party was really enjoying themselves till I'm going to besmirch Greg's reputation. Little Greg wanted to do something more. He had a character that I really didn't like the character class he picked, because I just have a limited selection of stuff I want you to pick from these here until you unlock things. You have to find somebody to mentor you into this, and he just wants to automatically have this garbage class from the ACG, which out of the 10 or 12 classes in the ACG, like one of them is vastly completely fucking overpowered, and then like the others are kind of niche. They fill this little slot over here, but they're not as good as anything from core rulebook. And I know I sound like a dick. I keep beating that dead horse, but there's a better way to do class creation than what they did in fucking ACG. That's like the worst fucking Paizo book ever, even worse than the Wild, Ultimate Wild or Ultimate Survival, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That was a shit book, but that's not as bad as the ACG. The ACG does have nice spells, I'll say that, and the feats weren't bad. The feats that were different than they didn't require a certain class ability found only within the ACG, but they had some nice feats, they had some nice spells.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of okay with that. But he gets this garbage class, and he's playing for about 2 or 3 sessions, and then finally he just loses his mind. He just loses his fucking patience, and he fucking snaps one night and he kills all the donkey handlers because he's tired of riding around with them being a guard. He wants to go do something, and like the rest of the party's happy as shit they're guards. They love being guards.
Yeah, they're enjoying that session.
Yeah, they're like, we get dinner and a movie. Sometimes the retards that we are adventuring with, the donkey handlers, will get they'll get a little excited, and like they'll start wanting to fuck each other. And so like it's kind of like when you work at a center for the developmentally disabled or mentally impaired, like if they're consenting to sexual activity, you leave them alone. But if you hear somebody scream help, you run and you break the two up. That's just kind of how that is. And I literally had that happen a couple times in the campaign where like people were like, "Are you fucking serious? That's going on." Yeah, it's going on. You gonna let them fuck, or you gonna try to break it up? No. If she's not complaining, okay, cool. And they had their own little handler with them that was basically the same lady that was in Wreck-It Ralph, the army sergeant lady, Calhoun. Yeah. There was a Calhoun with them, and she was like the overseer of all the retards. And she had a very limited skill set. She was mainly just like good at breaking things up and getting people organized, and that's about it. She could do muster really well, and also fire a crossbow. But anyway, the night that Greg lost his shit and killed all the donkey handlers. The rest of the party was like, we're going to kill this character of his. And so he left in a huff. He just was upset. Like, I had an idea for a game, and Bruce didn't want to run it. He went with a bunch of retards on donkeys. And the party was like, that was the greatest campaign ever because we were entertained. We got a chance to find dungeons. We had clues that we ignored. We found reasons to go back to places. You know, we had the perfect campaign, and you fucking took it from us by killing off our NPCs that were providing us the majority of entertainment. And then the party didn't do anything for like 2.5 sessions, and I couldn't get them to bite a hook. I give them plot hooks, and I do the Air America, and I do like the obvious thing. I give them the little village with the missing female magic user, and I'm like, we could start Night Below. And they're like, I don't want to do Night Below. Fuck that. One of the guys like, that's like a underground adventure. Fuck underground. I don't want to do any drow. I don't want that at all. And it was completely just like, it was frustrating as a dungeon master to assemble your party, to have everybody there munching on chips and drinks and just staring at you with these dead eyes like, entertain me, I'm here. But not that way. I don't like that. Entertain me some other way. Give me other entertainment. And I'm like, ugh. And so finally I lost my fucking cool, and I dug out my Paizo book, and oh, look, there's a plot here. You guys are getting invaded. Ha! You all get invaded. Everybody gets invasion. And I inserted the hobgoblins. And for like 2 or 3 sessions, the parties were like running away from hobgoblins and ran through some events, and they kind of were heroes. They had no donkeys to help. They had no donkey handlers. You know, the donkeys all scattered in the invasion. But then one night they thought they were doing good. They found the leader of their hobgoblin band. They were going to take revenge on him, and he jumps into a dungeon, and they follow him, and he goes into a portal, and that's where the big blue dragon was, the big blue dragon of death. Do you see Tim Christ's comment there at the bottom of our screen?
Yes.
Okay. He just finished a mega-sized Gundam model. That's excellent.
Nice. That is really awesome.
Okay, let me hide that. There we go.
And is it would I call it worse than Book of Weeaboo Fighting Magic? I don't know. It's in a good running for Weeaboo Fighting Magic was just too weird. Ultimate Wilderness was definitely its own different flavor of handicap parking spot.
Okay.
I mean, Weeaboo Fighting Magic was simply, it's so different that, oh god, marshals can do funny weird things. Whoa, man. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. We're not playing Exalted. And meanwhile, these other players, finally, a breath of fun, a breath of flavor. Our marshals could do cool things like the monks and the spellcasters. And most other players, ew, marshals shouldn't have fun. Marshals should just sit there and wait for fun to happen. Now, mind you, I like Weeaboo Fighting Magic, and I could find uses for Ultimate Wilderness, but it sure wasn't. They were different flavors of useless for me.
So I don't mind the Book of Nine Swords. I don't use it. I've got the Pathfinder version called the Path of War, which is okay. It's not going to win any awards. Dreamsguard Press does a mediocre job of making a quality book. They make some things that are all right. They don't make things that are just like knock your pants off silly. And I think they did kind of okay. They did a book on psionics, and that was before the Occult Adventures came out. And it actually was weird because you could run both books together and they wouldn't overlap. They fit together, which is like a real like big thing for a company to like see what the future holds with Paizo and not fuck up the soup. But you could run both books together if you like psionics. If you want all the psionics, you run those two books, and you never had a complaint. You were really a happy GM. And if you had your Dark Sun box set, you could run a Dark Sun box set. It was really fun.
Oh, definitely.
Baron G Rock asked me if it was worse than Book of Nine Swords, and I think the advanced character guide is absolutely worse than the Book of Nine Swords. The Book of Nine Swords has some things in it. The only problem that I have with it is that it's one more book that a DM needs to memorize, needs to sit down and just get real familiar with. And if he doesn't, then the players are just going to run roughshod all over him because there's stuff in there that elevates the power level of a campaign, maybe into an environment to where the GM is just uncomfortable. And therefore, like, that's why you always see me run back to core rulebook games, because I know the core rulebook pretty much inside and out. And there's certain things about other books I do like, but there's other huge swaths of Paizo's pages I won't allow 80% of it in. And I'm looking right at you, Mythic. You fucking disappointed the shit out of me. I don't know. There's some things that they do right at Paizo, and I mean, I'm not going to dog on them all the way, but I am going to say that if you've not played second edition Pathfinder and you haven't got an opinion on it yet, you may want to try it. It might be something for you.
It's fun. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's fun.
I've not seen a perfect game yet at all.
Nope. And you never will. It's got problems. And we looked at it when it first came out, when it was just the player's handbook, and said this was trash. And then because it was missing a whole lot of things. And then the 2E Advanced Player's Handbook arrived, and that filled in all the things that, since we were all veteran Pathfinder players and veteran 3.0 players, that we were going, we're missing things that we were used to having access to the crazy things that we wanted to be able to do. And then they filled it in. And now we're like, yeah, we're good now. And meanwhile, here's Paizo. Buy more books. Nah, we got 2. We're good. We're good, man. We're good. Buy more books? No. Buy books that got guns? Okay, we'll buy that one. Buy magic books?
Problem with Paizo. Paizo always does that. They always try to oversaturate their fucking game base with options because players will buy the majority of player books and then cajole the GM, let me play this. And the GM's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Pretty much. But, and the thing is that I had a lot of fun. As much as I like, as much as I often, mention Exalted's kind of a weird game. Everyone's like, I don't like the lore of second edition. Yeah, second edition was kind of cringy as fuck. The more you looked at it for its lore, and if you're like, but I like what second edition did for the, when it revamped the rules for that. Now, am I going to say first, second edition, and third edition are the best games ever? No. Will I say Essence, which is like 3.25? I have no idea it's its own side little thing. Is it the best game? No. Will I say, like, I love Mage the Ascension? Will I ever say that's a good game, the best game ever? Hell no. But I will sure always go back to it. Legend of the Five Rings. I love that game. Is it perfect? Oh, fuck no. And I hate the fact that every edition past first has been taking more and more fun out of the game, to the point where you're playing the current editions or the last generations of the good versions of the game, aka when AEG was doing the game. That it was boring. It was soulless. It was like, all the fun was gone. The color, like you took the. I will often paint L5R as being first edition is vibrant as fuck. It is a mishmash of craziness, and the power level and first edition embraced the idea that balance is a false god and you shouldn't worship it. It is so crazy, it is dumb. And if you actually learn that game, you will find out that the most powerful school in the entire game are storytellers, because they can actually tell a story, and if you're of a certain rank, and conjure an entire castle that's illusionary for a day. And it's a castle. It's a full-on bloody actual real castle. And then you can continue to tell your story, and then make somebody's ancestor, like actual ancestor, appear, and then do what you want them to do, like humiliate themselves. You can tell a stage play that magically appears itself, and have dumb shit happen, including having the version of the character you just created out of thin air, go fight someone for you. And you're like, where's the play balance of this? I'm like, there isn't any. Fuck you. Or meanwhile, you have another person who's so good at flower arranging that you could tell an entire novel with a flower arrangement almost. And you leave your beautiful flower arrangement, and everybody else walks by and goes, I have no idea. Like, that is a beautiful flower arrangement. But yet another flower arranger walks by and goes, I understand now. The secret, I understand now that Cobra is playing its evil plan to overthrow the Empire if it only gets these 3 pieces. And I will. But thank you, flower arranger. I now understand. And you wander off. Or a guy who paints a beautiful painting, so beautiful that you can walk through it as though it's a fucking trump card from Amber. Yes. The play balance of this game is shit, but it didn't matter because the game was fun. And then second edition went, we should dial that back a bit. And then third is like, no, we're desaturating the world. And then fourth edition was, we are now at Zack Snyder levels of desaturation. It's just dull. It's dull. It's pretty, but dull. And then Fantasy Flight shows up, and Fantasy Flight is like, we are a shitty simulacrum of what came before. We are retelling the old world, but now with no fun. We are
bland gamers.
Yeah, like L5R first. We are total grade A anime loving weebs. Like, do you want your anime like 90s color? It's just crazy and weird shit happens. Do you want sword fights and awesome things where people just die like it's Rudy Kenshin and there's just blood everywhere and it's awesome? Yes. Do you want to shoot arrows that are literally that literally loiter and then like go around a corner and stab a bitch? Yeah, I do. Fuck yeah, this is the edition you want. And then you get to Fantasy Flight. We're so boring. There's no fun here. It's we want to roleplay Japan. There's no weebs here. We're all Japanophiles now, and it's so Japan it hurts. And then here's me going fucking boring. Fuck you. Oh no, we have, and it's because it's Fantasy Flight. We have special dice for everything. And you roll your special dice and you count the symbols. And I'm like, here's a fucking mountain of D10s. I'm going to roll it now. Did a 35 stab a bitch? Yeah, it did. I stabbed a bitch. Yeah. And then you walk the fuck off. And you go have some fun.
You know, my favorite thing that happened this week is Starfield.
Yeah. Is it good?
No.
Awesome.
It's just fucking one goddamn cut and paste, copy paste of fucking planet after bland ass planet with instances and loading screens, and it's not as cool as Elite. It's not got the diversity and strangeness of No Man's Sky. It's just Skyrim with different color palettes for different planets, but it's the same dungeon, same bad guy, same treasure. That's but wait, hold on. It's got pronouns, and that's
and it also has design a spaceship.
But they have pronouns.
I don't give a shit.
I know nobody else does either. They ask you this in the starting part of the game, and Az had a real problem with that. But he got over it. He pushed through, and then he had the greatest fucking epic gamer rant.
I heard it.
I like no homo. I love that man. He's he's a very similarly shaped man like me, and he gives a good name and face for all fat white fucks that shave their head. I love Az versus Babyface.
God, modern space engineers would be awesome, Baron. I would love it if we could just glue, if they could just glue space engineers to Elite Dangerous, and I would be happy. If you could just merge Elite Dangerous and Space Engineers, and you'd have an awesome
Dangerous
game.
Is not a bad game.
No, it's an awesome game. But the problem is that Elite Dangerous stops you. Like, yeah, you could buy a carrier, and it's awesome when you can have a carrier. But it stops you at Corvettes. That's the biggest ship you can have. Meanwhile, some of us are refugees of EVE Online, where we're like, this is my continental-sized Doom ship. I have spent 8 months of the real world building it, and I'm now part of a fleet of other continental-sized Doom ships. And we are waiting for the moment that somebody gives us the okay to jump into this sector, and we are going to blow the fuck out of the Death Star. Oh, it's being guarded by 4 smaller Death Stars, and we are currently waiting for three other task forces to move into position, so that way we can cut off lines of reinforcements and retreat, so that way we got time to blow up the Death Star, and it's 4 smaller Death Stars. And we're going to now do this fight now. Did everybody plan I take time off work so we can fight this war? Yes. All right. We have spent the last 4 weeks preparing for this massive naval engagement. Begin. And then the fleet begins to maneuver, and other players are starting to rapidly, other players who aren't, combat wombats are rapidly moving up reinforcement ships to go drop them off at designated points, so that way, as ships are being destroyed in the main battle, the players can pod over to other vessel, to waiting command ships and carriers to go pick up the next wave of ships to go jumping into the fight, and keep doing this. So you have this massive, so you have a teeth of tail actually developing from the fleet carrier bases that are basing the smaller ships, the mother ships that are jumping in, the main battleships and dreadnoughts that are moving through, escorting destroyers and frigates being moved into position with cruisers being dropped off, and watching this cycle. And you have other people who are sitting here going, okay, the main operation is beginning. We should start, and we have miners who are now out there gathering up resources to start producing more new ships to replace what we're going to lose in the main fight. So you have miners, crafters, transporters, convoy escorters, who are all supporting the 300 to 400 people who are in the main fight. And it's like this horrible I am happy I am no longer part of this, because it allows me to have a life again outside of, I don't need flying computer meltdowns happening anymore. And I've been through a few of those. I've been through horrible ambushes and blockade running. It's a crazy game that, when I look, after being part of this monstrous player-run economy, player-run war effort, and maps being put out weekly telling you who's currently the cartel running this particular sector of space, and then figuring out how you're going to do your jump routes to be able to bypass the current fighting, so you can continue to make money as a miner, trader, a space trucker, doing all this. So when I go back to playing Elite Dangerous, and I'm sitting here going, I'm in my little Corvette, I'm having a little fun, I'm dogfighting, pew 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 pew. This is the best game I'm ever going to play because it's just me and a few other players. This is nice. And then I go back to playing, say, Space Engineers, where I'm sitting here going, okay, so I have flipped over my mining truck. It's on fire. This is good. And so therefore, And if I drop in to say, I don't know, Skyrim in space, I'm going to sit here and go, I'm in Fallout 4 with spaceships. I'm so, yay. And people are like, this is so wonderful. And I'm going, this is kindergarten. This is legitimately kindergarten. What do I do here? You fly around and you do adventures, and here's your spaceship. And I'm like going, oh God, yay, training wheels. But I guess no. But I guess since EVE Online's skill cliff has an overhang with machine gun posts firing at you. Yeah, everybody else is a little bit lower than that. No, nobody wants to go back to EVE Online. We all love it, we all miss it, but they actually have it, so you can actually fly. They actually now have XL integration into EVE. It was already flying Excel sheets. Now it's gotten worse. I love it, but no. Yes, the game now has XL integration. We're fucking moving to that stage of the game. No, I might if I ever went back to that game. I go stay in Care Bear space in Corpo, in stay out of null space and just go sit there and sell basic bitch starter ores and be okay with myself. Just fly my space truck from one point to the next, drop off my space cargo, turn around and do it again.
Now, Chimerian, what's the best ship you got on Elite Dangerous?
Oh shit! It's been a while. Let me go see.
For some odd reason, StreamYard is acting wonky. I think they're having connection issues, but we're still streaming.
Yeah, we're still on. No worries.
Yeah, and Tim is like, I don't miss Eve. I agree with you, Tim. Any game where I have to call up my old the Mike and Faith gaming group and have them pull out the Jeff Kopech spreadsheets. I mean, I love playing with Jeff Kopech. I don't want to play a video game with Jeff Kopech. I want to play a tabletop game with Mr. Kopech because he makes Traveler fun.
Oh.
Not that Traveler isn't fun. Traveler's great, but with Kopech, like, I'm gonna build a character with 4 levels of administration and brokerage, and then we're gonna win the lottery. That's what happens. Ain't got no hope, ain't got no chance. I love setting up a stealth Malleus with a salvager and farm PvP rec sites.
Yes.
See, I never got into Elite. I need to, but it's on the PC, but I don't really want to get into it because I've tried playing it and I don't like I guess maybe the starter ship just has the absolute shittiest handling that you could ever ask for in a game. And I've also got Descent Free Space 2, and that's a better flight model than Eve, I think. I hate to say that. Eve looks so beautiful, but it's disappointing.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful, and if you're out there just needing something that just looks pretty as a screensaver, and you're out there doing your stuff in a big mining ship or just cruising along, it's beautiful. But the moment you go into the moment you get you'll be out there flying by yourself, thinking you're just going to have a nice time, just have some fun, and then out of nowhere, 8 ships, 8 assholes appear out of nowhere, beat the crap out of you, blow your ship up, steal your cargo, and then fly off. And you can't do anything because 2 of the 8 ships are little buzzy bees who are sitting here but with their jump jammers, so you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. You're in an under-armored, undergunned mining vessel, or your Space International semi truck, and at best you have what, some little small pew laser. They ain't gonna do fucking shit. but you're hauling way too much crap, and then you're gonna get blown up. You're out a couple million, whatever price, and then you're back there going, well, shit. And then eventually you're gonna find yourself part of a corporation, and now you're out there in null space where you don't talk to anybody but your other corpo buddies, and they're all busily doing whatever the fuck they're doing. Meanwhile, you got your guys who are bored out there doing ratting, earning some money. You got your builders, your crafters, and then you don't talk to anybody. It's great. It's a great game. I love it. Really. And yeah, I have a little gunship. I'm a little shitty fetty gunship. I'm okay. And I don't play very often. I play anymore about once a year when we end up for our spring school function where we escort a bunch of kids to go. Hey kiddies, you want to be introduced to computer crack? Yeah. Welcome to Elite Dangerous. It's like Eve, but with training wheels. You'll enjoy this game. And everyone, yay, we're all out there. Which my friend who plays it way much more than I do, he has a carrier. We move the carrier out somewhere out in some no one gives a shit about it part of space, escort a bunch of kids out to the middle of nowhere, and I just sit there, enjoy chatting with everybody in the same room, and fly cover in a little itty bitty fucking gunship, and just don't do. I'm just there to keep them happy when they get lost and go, hey, I know you just ran out of fuel. Let me go out there and drop some more fuel off for you so you can come back to base. And they all go out and have their fun for a week, and then they come back and we go, now you can enjoy this game or just put it down, but you enjoyed a whole week of playing around in space. You feel better about yourselves? Yeah, that's nice. Now I'm going to go back to flying a spaceship for a while. See ya.
See, I like Elite Dangerous. I've not played it myself to where I can enjoy the game. I like watching the videos, or maybe I'll bump into somebody that's got a laptop open at a local game store and he's playing it. When I try to play it, it's like fucking retardville for like it's just miserable. And there's a really good space combat game called Free Space 2, made by now defunct Violation Software, who violated the number one rule of gamers: don't piss off gamers, don't piss off your audience. And Violation really had some good games back in late 90s, early 2000s. Chief among them is my favorite space game of all time, which is Free Space 2, which is a wonderful fucking game that has the entire fucking cast of RoboCop. Not really, it has 4 of the actors from RoboCop that have some really well thought out roles, good smart writing, fantastic scripted events. It's one of the best space combat sims of all time. And it's a shame that really since then not a whole lot's come out to challenge its superiority in the spaceflight games. It really there's you have the X series, which is expand and create your empire and all that shit. No, this is a game where you just play a single dude and a starfighter, and you're trying not to let your poor little empire get crumbled to death by the numerous forces allied against it. And it's great. Like, nobody wants to play it though. Nobody talks about it. It's rarely mentioned on best of streams. It's just a very sad thing. But if you want to play it, you're like, Bruce, I like the idea of Freelancer. Where can I get it? Well, you go to Steam and you carry with you an Abraham Lincoln, okay? And that's basically all you need. Yeah, Freelancer was good. I like Freelancer. I love the destruction of the Lucifer at the end. That was so rewarding. But part two, like, is the advert for part 2 was, remember the Shivans? Yeah, those people that you destroyed, the Lucifer. They're amazing, like space dreadnought, which would destroy every ship that you could ever throw at it. Well, the Shivans are back, and they want to know what happened to their scout fleet, and that was like the selling point. Like, wait, what? The what? And fuck if that game wasn't like 2 times the size and 2 times the length of the game Freelancer. And it was like they actually brought in some quality Michael Stackpole like writing from back in his days of writing for B Tech and other quality RPG franchises at the time that weren't woke as fuck. I know, I'm waxing nostalgic. I'm sorry, kids.
I wouldn't mind a Michael Stackpole written game back when he was still good.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't mind, a Weber book.
David Weber, the fucking king of military sci-fi.
Yeah, he really is. I wouldn't mind a Weber first inspired RPG that isn't Honor Harrington. I really like that.
You that is or is not Honor Harrington?
That is not. I love Honor Harrington a lot, but I don't know. I think I would enjoy an RPG set in that universe, but honestly, so much revolves around her, Queen of the Universe. She has many titles.
You're just a sexist.
No, I want to have a chance to do something cool too, but
How
you gotta
dare
realize.
you? This is Honor's universe. This is what she gets to do.
Look, the honor. Look. She who rivals Nelson, Lord Nelson, in terms of titles and awesome things that revolve around you. If you ever want to have an idea of how not to set up a universe where you have any chance of playing your characters doing anything of note, because you got to realize that everything in that book series revolves around her.
Yeah, she is the alpha and the omega of that entire series.
Because I love it. I read them, but boy, and I know there's beautiful asides to everybody else who's like, maybe we should fund this today, or they're all having their own things. But you know that nothing's going to happen unless she is involved somehow. You might have a space station blow up somewhere else, but really, where do you as a player character fit in in a meaningful way that doesn't put you as part of the fleet? The fleet is either attached to her, associated with her, responding to her, or doing anything involving not her. You could be somewhere in, I don't know, the home fleet, whose entire job is to sit around on their ass and do fucking nothing until something bad happens and they have to go rushing out to save her. Yeah, there sounds like some adventure there. Are you in Unfortunate Fleet number 2, who's over here going, well, we're not with the main character. You've been hit by everything. You're now on fire. This sucks. I mean, at least if you look at the Starfire universe, you got a chance of being someone who's not somewhat of a cool person who might be able to live in that universe and do things without having to be under, the one or two named character. There's so many named characters in the Starfire universe that you can actually be something or someone across a very large amount of time, because that universe actually does have time progress from one book to the next, from its original board game wargaming rules set of the first, second, third Gorn Khanate wars that lead into, which is Stars at War, which leads into Crusade, which leads into In Death Ground and Shiva Option, which leads into Insurrection. So across what in essence is 5 major books, you're covering almost 300 years of time, because time moves between all of these books. So you see a young character a young captain who's flying a survey ship, ends up starting a war on accident and becoming eventually, by the end of the third war, the NCO of the Navy, because by this point he's an older man. He's an old man who's fought 3 wars, and he's now pretty much the Admiral King of the setting. And then when you see him again in the next book, he's an old man who's at the very limits of what anti-aging treatments can do. He is now like 170 years old. He's he went from young, vibrant captain to he's moving around on a cane at the end of his life, and he's still fiery, vibrant. He's still pretty much Admiral King, forever angry. But he's now nurturing the next generation of people who are going to come into the war after that. Yes, every other step. And it's like, and you see the next generation come in and they fight the war, and you see those characters, and then the next book, those characters went from being young to now they're the old fucks. Everybody who was before is dead. So you're looking at that. So the new generation is going, so what was it like when you met Admiral Riva? What was Anderson like? And they're like, and then you have one guy who's like, I remember them quite well, but I'm retired now. Well, we're reactivating you for this. You're retired as an admiral, and you were on the inactive reserves forever. We're calling you back. Bullshit. Fuck you. You're back. I'm an angry old Russian. Tough shit. And you watch all these young people who remember 80 years ago, this guy was a stalwart, angry admiral who stopped the tide through what they think. Because now all they have is like, it would be like today if suddenly we called out of storage, break out Admiral Admiral Nimitz comes out of storage, you dump him into the modern day. He goes, I'm out of my depth, but everyone thinks I'm a legend. Fuck. And bad shit happens, and everyone kind of goes, but look at the heroes of the last war. Oh shit, all the heroes died in a horrible thing. And then you watch watch the characters in that setting suddenly go, well, we're out of heroes. What do we do? And then have one person kind of go, we need to be the heroes now because you've murdered all the old heroes. And then you kind of push through the next story. And then the next story comes around, and everybody from the last books, they're all now dead or legends. So it's like, who, and like you have one or two people that go, yeah, I remember those old people, but they're all dead now. And now you got to do the job. And you kind of, so that actually kind of tails back into almost when I say generational play or realm play, you almost are playing it like that, where you got to, where you have generational breaks, where you're kind of going, who remembers what happened 80 years ago? Who remembers what happened? Like, it's like today, finding like the 2 or 3 World War II vets who are still alive and still have their senses to them to tell you a story. But all the generals are gone. All the admirals are gone. All the leaders are gone. Now all you have left are people who are now way old, retired, and they were privates and corporals left. You have all the young fucks who went through that. They're all that's left, because everybody who was higher ranked and older, they're gone, dead. Life claimed them. And now you got to, and so we no longer have that portal that we had 20 years ago, that we had 30 years ago. We're no longer looking at the 50th anniversary. We're now looking at the 80th anniversary for some of these events. There's no one around to tell you these stories anymore. And think about that when you're running a game. You're running a long-term generational campaign that, unless you have an elf or a dwarf or a gnome, most races are going to look at you as and you're now that one old guy who's around, who's going, yeah, you may look young, but you're 250 years old. You're still in your prime, but nobody else around you is. And so when you're sitting here going, yeah, I was there when Andrew Jackson decided to go do this stupid thing, or when X thing occurred, I was there and I remember what happened. And everyone else, that's not what any of our history books say. Well, no, trust me, you're just a first-hand account, and you can see a great version of this actually if you like with Babylon 5's Deconstructing Falling Stars, where the historians are now coming in a couple centuries after the events of Babylon 5, and they're talking about John Sheridan, who's been gone for a long time, and they're talking about the myth, the legend. That's not what happened. Hell, you can go look at anyone on YouTube right now, and when they're telling you this is the current history that we're going to tell you, the version of the story that we're going to tell you, because honestly, and you're going, is that really what happened? And that's when you see like the Delenn old walks in and tells you, no, this is what John Sheridan really was like. And everyone's like, stick around, tell us more of what actually happened. And she's like, no. And then she walks off. And it's a beautiful scene. And try imagining that as you're playing an old dwarf, because something that happened 100 years ago. You're a dwarf. You're now in late Middle Ages. An elf might be old, and yeah, I look young, but you're still 100 fucking years went by, and your friends are dead, and like if you're a human, your grandparents are dead. Who are you gonna ask? Like, oh, I can ask my dad. Well, dad's currently 75, 80, and he's got some memory problems because honestly, most of us have older parents now. If we still have them, we have older parents. And trying to talk to them about, hey, what was the 70s like? It was only 40 years ago. But what was the 1970s like? And they go, oh, fuck. Hey, Mom, what was the 1960s like?
And the furniture was a fuck ton better.
Yeah.
I know our furniture now is comfy, but you could buy a couch in 1970, and if you didn't have a need to replace it in 1995, then it's still surely in that house in the same spot, still where it's at. It might be threadbare on the armrests, might have a couple cushions you've resewn or put some burlap sacks or potato sacks over and stitch that in there instead. But that is a fucking resolute piece of furniture now. I can tell you that much.
I know, but I ran into the problem where there were some people that I knew that I would like to ask them about what it was like at a certain point in time, but I'm now in my mid 40s. That's the truth. I'm in my mid 40s. And
that's weird. When you say that the first time, you're kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm how old?
Yeah, I'm in my mid 40s. If I wanted to ask somebody who was 30 years ahead of me, they're in their I had to stop and go, they're in their 70s now. So when I was a young kid and they were in their 40s when I was so say I was dealing with somebody who was in their 30s when I was in my teens. I need to realize that they're now in their 60s or late 60s heading towards 70, and trying to ask them for the same stories that they told me, that I vividly remember the stories that they told me, but they might not remember the stories that they told me. Or they might not remember it as well as they did when they told me that story when I was in my teens. I thought it was gospel, but now that I'm in my 40s, I go ask that same guy, hey, what was this thing you did? And then I might get a different story, or they might not even remember that they told it. It might have slipped them. And if I wait 10 more years to go ask any of these people any more questions, A, they might not be here. B, they might not remember anything, because I hate the fact that I had 3 years at a memory care facility as a cook, but I still had to watch my 60 residents die. Like, I always had 60 residents, but as beds opened up from people dying, and over the course of 3 years, I had to watch a lot of people who came in. When they first arrived, they're only being put in there because they're no longer able to live in their own homes. Motor control is starting to fade. They're not firing on all cylinders anymore. That point when we take grandma out of the house and throw her into an old folks' home. That's where I was working, and I had to watch and I watched people who were great people, but as the course of years passed, I'm watching their minds go and slip. And there was nobody out of everyone that was in that 3 years, I had one person who was still there when I quit, who was there when I first was hired. And I had to watch people disappear and watch watch their personalities, watch their knowledge, watch them like when they went from being great conversationalists, they couldn't move, they couldn't remember everything quite as well as they could, but they were good conversationalists, slowly devolve into nothing. And then they died. And I loved and knew these people, and I cared a lot about it because I was there feeding them. I was making their food for them, and food's one of the best things that makes everyone happy when you bring a good meal out to them. I was a damn good cook. I am a damn good cook. I am proud of my skills. But I couldn't do it anymore because I couldn't watch people die. And it gave me this new sense of, I can't wait to ask people questions. There's no point, like once a person hits about 60, 65, 70, you can't wait anymore. If they've got any stories to tell you, ask them now because they're going to go away. And they're going to forget it, and you're never going to learn it. I had to wait until my grandfather was nearly in his mid-70s before he'd tell me one thing about the war about World War II. He was an Air Force pilot, and he only ever told his stories to one person, and that was my uncle, who was a bomber pilot in Vietnam. My uncle hasn't told anyone any stories because he won't tell anyone any stories because he's a buff driver. But my uncle, my grandfather, was a navigator on a B-17. He didn't tell anybody any stories, not his kids. My mom never heard any of these stories, but it was literally me giving him a gift that made him go, I'm going to talk now. And my grandma, my mom, my uncles who were there the day, they were all like, wait, shit, Grandpa's talking? And those are the only times that his stories ever came out. And he ever told anyone about any of the really scary shit that he went through, because he just suppressed it. It was 50 years before he told anyone anything. And yeah, so it's one of those things where now I realize I can't wait. Like, I can't say I'm going to ask you a question about what you did later, because I had to watch a guy who I didn't know it, but he was a firefighter on the USS Forrestal. He went through the fire of the Forrestal. He went through it. I didn't know it, but he was a damn good man. He was a damn good man. Damn good man. But he didn't. Yeah.
Every Navy vet I know, they can tell you the first time you watch that is like the third day of boot camp.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, there's not a 6-month period that goes by where you're forced to watch that shit over and over. I mean, you don't get to see the whole event. They edit out some things. They constrain it for time. But the forest fire, when that fucking happened, that changed the entire service, man.
I know. And yes, I know, Tim, there is no Air Force. It's the U.S. Army Air Force. I know. I'm just dropping the Army off of it for this conversation. I know I can go into the full things. The thing is, I didn't know that this guy did anything because he was a firefighter. And he was a firefighter in one of our local towns for a while, and he was a firefighter chief. I didn't know what was going on, until literally he was dying, and one of his kids, came in, and I'm like, I just sat there next to him as he's now unconscious. He's dying. His brain's just gone out. There's no fire in his eyes. He's on his last days, and I'm like, sat there like after work, just with his kids, and like, hey, could you tell me about him? And then they told me about it, and then we went clearing out his last possessions, so that way we take him home, because we're getting everything ready for him to go out. And that's when I saw all the stuff that he had, and went, holy shit. And I'm like, I missed a chance to talk to somebody who was fucking there. And when I finally find out he was there, there's no one. I can't talk to him. He can't answer me now. He's gone. He was a vegetable at that point, and his body was fighting to stay alive. That was it. But it was on its last moments, and that's when I could have gone, well, shit, I know I know kind of what's going on here. I've read the reports, but now I could have gotten a firsthand report from the guy, a firsthand dialogue with the guy when he was still actually there. But I lost it. But it's so, and the thing is that these are things that, yeah, I went through, like I reading about it and then meeting somebody who was there and then watching him die. That sucked. There's a reason why I quit that job, because it was emotionally a draining thing. I don't want to ever do that again. I don't want to watch people fade away. But the thing is that I want to learn everyone's stories. I don't care if it's 100% right. I don't care about the accuracy. If I want accuracy, I can go read a Bureau of Warships fucking book on their after action report on what the fuck happened. But I don't want that. I want the actual story. And so, but the thing is that, again, I'm carrying this forward into how I run games, is because you're not going to get a 100% story. You're never going to. But your games need to reflect the fact that that as time moves on, details are going to get lost. I know a lot of us are autistic little screeching raptors and scream about the particularities of what exact title was used at what point, and because that's really, really important, because I need to know what color boots Stonewall Jackson was wearing that one day, and if I get the color wrong on his on the miniature, no, that's fucking totally fucking wrong. I need to make sure I paint that shit 100% accurate. I'm like, no, but I've also listened to a German tanker who lived in Peoria for a while. He moved to Peoria after the war, and got a chance to meet him. And I asked him questions. It was a nice little interview. He was remembering things that happened 50 years ago. But I didn't ask anything personal. It was a nice conversation. I really enjoyed that day. And yeah, I know. And I guess it's just one of those things where I don't want to say it influences how I want to run things, but it's just the idea of enjoy the small things as we go through it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, the story I'm going to tell is going to always be an imperfect narrator. When I tell my games, shit's going to happen. You're going to remember it quite well, but you're not going to remember it 100%. I guarantee you, if any of you tell any of the campaign stories that you've gone through in whatever games, because some of us, have been gaming for 40 years, I guarantee you, if I asked you, hey, what happened in that campaign in 1983? You're probably not going to give me a 100% perfect recreation of what happened blow by blow. Again, you're going to give me a nice generalization. It will be a nice story, and it will be tainted by your point of view, and I will enjoy it. Because, well, I don't have any of the, I don't have the ability to go ask, hey, can I go talk to your GM? No, I'm not going. I can't ask your fellow players, but I can sure take your story and make it and use it to inspire my own going forward. God, if I could go back in time, and just take a recorder for Dave Saring and just sit it down on the table and hit record, and then change the cassettes whenever they run out, and just let him talk.
Oh my God.
Forever. I would be the happiest man on the planet. Hell, part of me wishes I could go back in time and go buy Dave Kinsinger. Oh shoot.
Yeah, even Kinsinger had some good shit.
Yeah, I would like to hear some of these stories from people who never talked. And it's like, I know I can't relate 100%. I'm never going to be able to. but I can sure try. I and try to like listen to as many things as I can to make things feel better. I know I'm rambling way off topic. I'm way off topic now, and I really don't care. I it's just this weird. It's a tangent that runs off because it does kind of trail into when you run longer games. I'm going to take it back to being the actual topic, but when you run longer games, you're going to have to deal with things just being lost along the way. I really don't like the fact that things get lost, but as time goes on, more things disappear. That's just the nature of the world. Unless you can somehow make us all somehow through medical breakthroughs live forever, but at that point we have other problems that will start to creep
You'll all get Alzheimer's.
We'll all get Alzheimer's.
If there was any bit of actual research I ever did for my 2 books, A Shift, the main thing is that in the first book, you find out that the president-elect, or not the president-elect, but the primary runner for the GOP, he's now an elf, and he gets a phone call from his doctor, and the doctor tells him, like, listen, all the tests have been coming back, and no matter what I run, it always comes back. You've got the early stages of Alzheimer's. I mean, it's mainly for the fact that your brain's like our brain, and after a certain period of time, it just there's nothing we can do for it.
Your body's immortal, but you're not.
12-year-old elf, I mean, he's pretty happy, and the Republicans chose him because he had a good radio program, and everybody seemed to enjoy what he had to say. So he
Good night,
ran.
Tim.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, it was good seeing you, man. Are you in my Discord? Hold on, Tim. Don't leave yet. But it's just really weird how everything seems to happen.
Yeah, it does. And
Really
they're fun
sad.
things. They're fun things you gotta like to take into consideration. And it's just weird and how I know I've wandered way into the weeds right now, but it's part of the reason why I do read as much as I do, because I do want to understand what people say, what people do, and that way I can portray. I'm never going to do 100% portrayal. Dear God, fuck no, I'm never going to do it 100% properly or right. And I don't want, and I try, but I'm not going to beat myself up too much about being 100% accurate. But I also want people to, people to go, to be able to not have to set aside their what is that? It's too late. My brain's malfunctioning at this point. I don't want to have them go, oh, this is so badly written. Like, if you watch some Hollywood, this is how things work. You're like, no, that's not how it works. Stop it. Stop. No, that's not. God damn it. I know you had an advisor, but you didn't listen to him one bit. You just wrote weird shit because you're the writer's room, and fuck the setting Bible. Fuck your advisors. They don't know anything. We gotta tell our story, and our story trumps any sense of believability that's in this work that we've created. It's like,
Grandma.
Good night. Take care.
Just, it's kind of sad that, like, over the course of time, like, you have only so many hours to spend every day, and we have the opportunity to possibly game, but like, there's so many other times where, like, we probably should have sat by our grandfather's side or some other esteemed elder statesman.
And
at least just let him fucking just talk, just let the man speak.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's far too many times, like my buddy who usually streams on Sundays, but he just lost his grandfather. He was like 70 or 68 years old, good looking guy, but because he lived in Texas or because the grandfather was in Texas and he was in California, the young man didn't get a chance to hang out with his grandfather so much after like they moved out of state. And that right there, like I don't even know how to explain to him, like, dude, you've just lost like so much history with one
Mm-hmm.
person. And it's rough when you go through that. Like the first grandfather I lost, I didn't think much of it at the time because him and we really didn't get along too well. But the more time has gone on, I've realized, like, man, I really screwed up by not just saying, what, we are the same person basically. We don't get along too well, but I need to know what the hell you're doing that I could learn from you, because if not, I'm going to make a lot of fucking mistakes.
Yep.
And I really screwed that up.
I know I made my mistakes, and and really all of this really does influence how we act, it really is just that. It's stupid to be able to say it that way, but it's the truth. And I know that as we GM, as we play, as we do our gaming, as we tell our stories, we tend to the people we've been around, the people we've played with, or we've read about, we've heard the recordings or watched a video, those become resources that we can draw upon, and it helps to know more about someone. It's like I didn't until I read about, like, it's like I would portray someone horribly wrong, but then I met somebody who was actually there, or I met somebody who was in a similar position. I listened to how they act, how they talk, how they goof off, their jokes. Like, I grew up with the idea that my grandfather was the most dour man in the entire universe. Like, he just wasn't. He didn't do much. Like, he was in the house, he didn't say shit, do shit. Then I find out that away from the house, he was one of the most practical, joking assholes on the planet. Rude, crude, and just when he retired, there was a party for his retirement where they brought in cartoons making fun of the guy because of how much of a weirdo he was outside the house. And finding out, and then listening to other people and finding out what they're like, the shit that they've been through, some of the stupid things that they've done. And it's like, because nobody wants to tell, like, but the thing is, this suddenly becomes like the fuel you can use to modify, to make an interesting encounter, an odd character, a fun thing. But it means you have to go out there and learn their take on their side on things, like how they might have done things. You don't need a one-for-one perfect recreation of that person, but you can sure the hell use that as an angry story for how of weird shit that's happening in the background. Their background details, people that you're out. Similar event. Weird. This is often a slightly different tangent, but it's all about, like, it does come down to perception and how you're kind of like looking at the world. Like, when you start seeing that, I guess in some people where if they don't think very hard about anything, they'll just see the world as though everybody's an NPC. They're just people you encounter as obstacles between you and your destination. They're just people who you give instructions to and they do work until you sit down and drink a beer with them. And then you find out that, no, that old fucker over there, yeah, he's done some pretty crazy shit. And he still does crazy shit. And then you sit down with other people and listen to them talk and tell their stories and tell their adventures. And then suddenly, like, people stop becoming just a number, a detail. They're no longer just donkey handler number 4, or they're no longer the the local general store owner, or the armor smith who's got no name, where you only meet him and you only ever get to see him doing the same things. Ting, 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 ting. And you always have this mentality that the more you get to be around people and talk to them, the more you can now get more stories, more perceptions, because everybody's out there with the same going through the same shit you are, but not the same shit. Everyone's going through something, and you just don't know it. But we're too busy. You don't know this, and the more stories you learn, the less the less the stereotypes become true, but but it also reinforces them at the same time. So it's one of those things where you start with the stereotype and let people look at it and go, "Oh, I could live with that." But if they ever stop and go, "Hey, what's this guy really like?" And you can now go, "Oh yeah, this is what he's like. This is what's going on here," and the story kind of evolves out from that point. And it becomes less. I could go out there and murder hobo everybody because, well, everyone's a person at that point. I know when you're playing a game, it's just escapism. It's just supposed to be escapism. It's just supposed to be, I'm here to murder things. I'm here to get XP. I'm here to get loot. But then you realize that no, that town is people that they're not your friends. They're not the people you know, but they're still people. There's still a reason to, I'm evil, I can abuse them, right? Or no, they're people. I don't want to bring real world morality into the situation, but it's something to take into effect, because now, as you know what people are like, you can have people react like people. Some are afraid. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are ignorant. A lot of people are sheep that need to be told. But that can be a disadvantage or an advantage. There are some people who are just waiting for a moment to be told, do something. Some people are proactive. Some people are reactive. Some people just wait to be told what to do. And you can portray this. You can have a story of a guy who, look, I just follow orders, and when a truck drops some paint off, it's the wrong colors, but fuck it, I'm going to go rob a bar to go make the rest of the third color I need, so I can go paint this truck, this wagon, because I have to. I was told to. And you go through with life like that, or it's just everyone's got a damn story, and it's just trying to make sure you do it and do it justice, so that way the players who are actually at your table who appreciate it can stop and go, thank you for putting that little extra detail in. It may be lost on a guy who just goes, fuck it, I want to get on to the next combat. But there's probably a good chance that somebody at your table probably understands and will appreciate that little bit of effort in there. And and sometimes you do get that jaded individual who's been through way too much shit, and it's just like, fuck it, I don't care what your name is. You make it a month, I'll learn it. Because but you gotta wonder, why does that person have that attitude? Is it because they're in a job that has a high turnover rate that there's a good chance that when they hired you, you're probably not going to stick around a month, and you'll probably quit in 3 weeks, or something will happen to you, and then you're gone, and they're not wanting to get invested? There's 100 ways to tell these stories and make it and make anything interesting, and make it more engaging than just simply telling a simple walk 5 feet, check for trap, check for hidden passage, check for hidden door. All right, rinse, lather, repeat. Move on to next 5 feet. Proceed. Because you're playing somebody who has a life. You're playing a character who has a backstory. It doesn't have to be fantastic, but you have 18 to 22 years for the average adventurer, 18 to 22 years of your life that you've already led up to this point. You may have generated this character 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, but it's still an 18 to 20 years of life. That you're now dragging into this horrible situation. You're going to be playing a character who's not thinking about, who might be thinking about, am I going to die in 5 minutes? Because the GM is a spiteful person, and I don't care about this character because of the fact that they have low stats and they weren't the right thing, and the GM is a dick for making me have to play play it as you roll it character, and this character's an idiot and is incompetent, and I don't like this character. I'm just going to suicide them. Why are you? No, you're playing a person. I know this is adding a detail, and I can put us all aside and go play. And if I encounter a GM who's just like, this is just a game, you're a pile of shit, you're a pile of stats, get through the encounter and get your loot, I can put aside all of these thoughts. I can set them. I can go into my head and turn on the jaded switch. The little part of my brain, I can just click and go, I don't care anymore. All right. And if you've ever seen me talk and write and game, there is a point where I'll be in character. I'll be playing up a personality, a thought, trying to think of the idea that my character's got plans for the next 10, 15, like I got somewhere I want to be in a month or a year. I got goals. I got something I want to do. Or hell, I got something I want to do tonight. Like I got a phone call. I got someone I care about. I got something I want to do. I don't care if it's just playing poker at the local pool hall. It's something I want to do with my character. That character's got a goal, a life, a love, an ambition, and they want to do it. I may not know it as a player yet, but eventually, if I play it long enough, I'll know it, and I'll want this. But I'll be trying to keep that going on as I'm playing the character. But if I'm told by too many people at the table or the GM that no, we're here to mechanically go through this dungeon, murder people, and move on to the next encounter, there's a little switch that will turn off in my head, and I'll be like, all right, we're just playing a board game. It's no longer about personality. It's no longer about character. It's just simply a mechanical exercise. You're just going through the paces, the motions. You're just sitting here going optimal choice, optimal action. Proceed until next event. If then go do this thing. Move through a program. Just go through it, and it's no longer about role playing. It's about rolling the dice and playing what drops, and then moving to the next tactical situation as though you're a machine. And I can do that, but that's not what I want. I don't want to do that. I kind of want my characters to survive, to survive what's going to happen. Because, well, yeah, death happens. We're playing games where death happens a lot, but I'm going to play it. I'm not playing it as a suicidal kamikaze pilot, who thinks that my death will delay the inevitable tide of the fleet moving forward. No, unless that's actually what can happen. If I know that if I'm playing a role-playing game, and the spellcaster needs one more round to be able to prepare to save things. Yeah, step into the brink. Step right into it, and feed bodies into the fire until it's over. Sometimes that is what you need to have done. Yeah, sometimes it is that, but not every time, not all the time. And I'm not going to play a character whose entire goal is to die in a miserable, horrible way. That's really what it comes down to. I know there's some characters who do that, who are like, because there are, people who are like, I'm a Dishonored character. There are many, many instances in many, many RPGs about playing characters that are doomed, and you're trying to find an honorable death. an honorable end, and that's an actual character concept, and that's cool because you can now think about why, what's motivating, what's pushing you, why are you doomed, and can you play it right? Do you know you only have X amount of are you terminal? Do you know you only have this amount of time? And that becomes a cool story. But since most of us don't play games that give that kind of a background, we don't get a chance to play those very often. But it's fun, and there's juicers and riffs. There's so many characters who are all like this across a lot of games, and so it's a valid way to play. But not every character you're going to play at every time is disposable bard number 412, whose job is to...
At least you said the bard is disposable. Thank you.
Yes. But, I'm not looking at my stack of spare bards I've got already pre-rolled and going, I shall go and form the forward fighting position with the corpses of the Bard Corps. Go, my Bard Corps. And sandbag that shit and create a bunker where we're going to fight from. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be a Russian mine detector with my rogues. I'm not going to play a meat wall. I'm just going to sit there and die miserably. It's because of the fact that I kind of want my characters to survive, to make it to retirement, to sit there and tell misremembered stories about what the fuck went wrong 20 years ago when the next campaign starts, and the party goes, "Hey, old man, shut up! In my time, I fucking did all this stuff, and you're in my parking spot. What are you gonna do about it, old man?" And then the old man he's not quite as strong as he used to be, but he's still a fucking 12th level fighter. And pulls out the bed of his wagon some kind of flaming death sword. And they're like, "Where the fuck did you get that? I told you in my parking spot!" And goes out there and butchers shit because he's a retired murder hobo. Of course he's not going to. And you're a bunch of low life young adventuring punks who are parking at his parking spot. He's going to kill you and burn your wagon down so that way he can park his wagon in there. Fuck you. And have weird shit like this happen. And that's what I want to have. That's the kind of dumb I want to have. I want to know that I can play a character for that long. Where I can have a full life and then have his ass retire and then keep playing in that world. And I don't want to have it all be fan fiction, sitting off where I can write 100 emails and 100 fan fiction stories a half a decade later and go, "This is what I think my character is doing," and no, it will never come up. It will never matter. I can write. I've written entire fucking stories about projects that a character of mine, who was a high-ranking character, who's made it up to the upper ranks, of a government organization, enough that he's got influence over many departments of the government, and writing up how I think things would play out. But I look at them all, and I look at the GM who ran that game and go, "Are we ever going back to this campaign world?" And he goes, "Someday, maybe." But he's currently working on a doctorate right now. So he has no time. He's got 3 kids. One of them's about to become a teenager. He's got no time because he's got to be there being a good parent. And I look clinging to this character sheet, to this notebook that I have my character sheet written in, and all my plans and all my stories. And I sit here and go, someday I will play you again, but we'll never come back to it. I cling to the faint hope that I will one day get to play that character again, but I know better. It will never happen. And it's sad that I didn't look at this character who's stuck in stasis, and I'm writing out fan fiction for a campaign that's long gone. And it's sad. It's depressing. And the thing is that I know what this effect has on me, and I don't want to do that to other people. I want other people.
I tell you what. when I was 22, I moved out of my parents' house for a little bit, and I lived
Yeah.
next door to to Bill Helmbacher, who played the character for Bilius Maximus.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in the apartment next door to him, so we could always have talks about game and such. And we just go down to the local game store, which was a half mile or three-quarters mile away, and it was great, up until where like I needed money to do things, and can't have a new truck and an apartment, so I had to move back in with mom and dad, and some other situations came up. But uh, Bill was a good close friend of mine, to the point where like whenever my mom and dad had a real issue with like property rights, Bill was involved, and he came over and he gave us some clarification on things, and he looked at it and he's like, "This is a kind of a giant clusterfuck, Bruce. I don't know if your parents realize this or not." And he did help us clarify things a bit and helped get a property line properly established. But about 3 months after that, I was home, and there was a voicemail from the local game shop owner, and he's like, "I really need to talk to you. Something's had happened. Tell me when you can be available." And I didn't really think of it much, but I could have swore I heard Bill's voice at the end of Wayne's message on there. "Hey, Bruce, it was great knowing you. Bye." And I'm just like, what the fuck was that? And then the next day, it hit me whenever my girlfriend tells me Bill died. What? Bill was murdered last night in his apartment. They broke open the door and somebody beat him to death. Well, as much as that terrible event that took a good friend from my life, uh, Bill, being a barred individual, being a man that had a really good handle on law in Illinois, and he understood the Constitution of the state and some other things. He wasn't really well known because he was kind of a newcomer to everything in the local area, and people hadn't got to know him yet. If he would have gotten any length of time on him, he would have quickly been kind of like unable to game as much as he was doing, which was twice a week. And he would have been forced to work a hell of a lot more and be more involved in politics and all this shit. But uh, I get to honor the guy every time I sit down to game, and I have one of my favorite moments in the game where I get to have a mentor help out a player character. And I think that's something that you're kind of dancing around a little bit tonight. You really are. You're dancing around the fact that like we need to keep some of these guys alive. That they've been very instrumental in keeping the game fun at our tables. And there are some people that when they hear your friend through your mouth, I mean, it's one thing that I do have a gift with voices. I'm not great at mimicking, but I can usually pull off what I'm trying to without people saying, like, "Oh God." Most people don't hold their nose whenever I start doing impersonations, which is great. Thank you for being so kind. But um, when I start mimicking Bill to his old friends, um, a lot of times you just kind of sit there slackjawed for a second, like I haven't heard that in that inflection for years. And that happened to me a few times after his death when I was over at SIU for Egyptian campaign in Carbondale, because I would always bump into his old mates there. And you know it is a small stupid dream of mine to bump into his son one of these days. His son was 2 when his father was murdered, but I would love to be able to bring his dad's voice to life just for 10 seconds and be able to give him just a little bit of insight as to what fucking nutsack he came out of. Because I think he would value the imagination and the tenacity that Bill had on certain things. Granted, Bill was not a good fighter, which is why when somebody applied a hammer to him 26 times to the head and neck, which you can find, you used to be able to find it on the Decatur website. They've since improved their security, you bastards. But the murder report used to be pretty fucking nasty, head and neck injuries. And we really miss Bill. He was a hell of a guy. But every time I sit down, and like I said, I have a mage or a magician or a wizard, I roll out Bilius Maximus.
and I
Yeah.
give my friends the chance to interact with him. And I always try to keep him in spirit whenever I'm running this character because I just think that that's the best thing I can do, man.
It is the
You know,
best thing.
I'm never going to be a award-winning author. I'm never going to be a great guy, but I can always at least try to jostle a memory from somebody that kind of was there, or I can at least add a little bit of history to something to give people a mindset better of what the perspective is. And I think that's one of the things you're saying here, but you're not missing it. You're just I think if you had practiced your Mel Blanc impersonations as a young boy, I think we'd be hearing a lot more voices come out of your mouth. And you're really good at doing history and unusual events and just interpreting the franticness of a situation. If there was
Yeah.
ever any criticism I ever had for you as a GM, your voices and accents could use some tuning. Mine definitely could use some tuning, but you really do good with your campaigns. And if you ever decide to start adding in NPCs based off of friends that are no longer gone here, if you introduce Dave Serene to some guys and they just kind of tell you in the middle of the game, like, do we really got to go to the next scene? I want to
No,
listen to this
that's
guy.
right.
I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. I mean, you did Dave right. You did him some justice.
Yeah.
And I think I'll shut up now.
I was never good at voices. My problem is that I have my speech impediment. I know I've got it. I know I speak too fast. That's always slowed me down on wanting to do too many voices. Therefore, I try not to. I know I really could. I really should have or could have, and it would have probably done better. And I would love to. All I can really do is channel channel their some of the personality that I can remember of them. And because I hate to say it, it's been a while since I've seen since these people were around. So my own recollection is nowhere near good enough to be able to capture the spirit of some of these people that I I can I know some of his stories and I will gladly use them because they were interesting. They were interesting as hell stories, but I know I can't do them justice, and that's my one problem. Is that I know I don't have a good voice for it.
Well, your voice isn't the problem. I mean, literally, I there's been famous actors that they had, uh, James Earl Jones being the most prominent example. Early James Earl Jones stuttering problem to an nth degree. Mid game James Earl Jones, I'm talking 1974, 76. The guy's doing Othello, and then as a man who could like to have another paycheck, he meets young George Lucas, and George Lucas has a problem with David Prowse, but you really can't make you can't make him intimidating whenever he speaks because he's just not intimidating. I love David Prowse, but he did not have an intimidating voice, and therefore, he had a real problem. He had short dick syndrome whenever it came to the Darth Vader situation, to the point where whenever you'd see him at Dragon Con, like David would have no pictures of him with partially dressed for the Darth Vader outfit. He would have all of his other B movie stills in front of you, and he'd sell you an autographed picture for between $25 and $100. And he'd love to tell you about stuff that wasn't anything related to Star Wars. That was just his. Seriously, like, don't ever fucking talk to him about Star Wars. I got my ass ripped open in '93 as an 18-year-old idiot because I asked him about Star Wars. Like, weren't you the guy that was Darth Vader? And the guy fucking unhinged, and he just chewed my ass right there on the vendor floor of Dragon Con.
Oof.
And that was first and last time I ever met the guy.
I'm sorry.
I wish I would have known that. I wish I would have known that beforehand. But there's certain things, first timers disease. You
Yep.
Oh, you got first timers.
I like those kind of stories though, because it's always more. I won't lie. I haven't been to as many conventions as I wish I did, in the capacity of being an attendee. But it's so much fun encountering these people when they're not where they're supposed to be, where they're expected to be, and when you actually get to interact with them as though they're just a person. Because I'll admit, I don't know who anybody is who's famous. When I listen to you and Janet talk about all these actors and rattling off their names, who they are, what roles they've all been in, and I just kind of stare at it and go, wow, I wish I knew that kind of information. I don't. All I know is the movie and the character who they played. I can just go, yeah, I really love Admiral Greer in Hunt for October, and they're like, it's James Earl Jones. Okay, I know who he is, and I know who a few other people are, but I don't know anybody else. Oh, I recognize them, but I couldn't tell you who played. I know generic Chinese guy from Big Trouble in Little China. He's the generic Chinese Chinese
Victor Wong.
Yes, and it took me forever to learn who he was, but I watched so many 80s action flicks that it became almost a game with my family where it's like, can we spot, like, because we loved watching martial arts flicks, that was how long until we encountered generic Chinese guy, and there he is. He's got the face, the mustache, the hair. We know who he is. Yeah, he's awesome. And one day I was I was at a convention. I was just standing in line, getting ready to go buy some. I think I was getting ready to buy a Decepticon sticker for Transformers, because I was just like, I wanted to have one, and I was a young little twerp, and I'm just standing there getting ready to buy something. Like I'm in this shop buying something, and there's this fucking dumbass in front of me. He's haggling with the store owner, or the shop owner, and it's slowing everything down. We're all miserably just standing there waiting, and I had a guy behind me go, "Hey, you like Transformers, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What's your favorite Transformer?" I'm like, "Well, I like this one. I like this character. I like this one and this one." And he goes, "Cool. I like this character." I go, "I like that one too." Like, yeah, he's pretty awesome too. What I didn't realize was the guy standing behind me was one of the voice actors, and I was there to see him, but I knew him from a different series. Who
was it? Which Transformer was it?
Voice actor for Waspinator from Beast Wars. Scott McNeil, I think. Waspinator from Beast Wars.
Waspinator from Beast Wars. Okay.
Yeah, Scott McNeil, I think, is what is who it is. It's been a while, and he was behind me, and I started bitching about just grumbling, and because he asked that question, I was like, "Yeah, I really like that character too," and so I was bitching about how slow this guy was, and then he started mimicking what I was saying in the actual character's voice, in Waspinator's voice. I had to turn around and I'm like, "Holy shit, you do a really good imitation of that." And he goes, "Better than imitation." And I'm like, "What?" And that's when I realized, oh wait, it's the actual voice actor. And I was just talking to him as though he was just a normal human being. And I've been around a few other people like that, just as normal humans. Just treat them as, I was just, again, never realizing who they actually are, and just talking to them as though they're just people. I can't remember her name. I just encountering various people and just treating them, because, again, I don't know what any of them look like in real life. I don't know who they are. I don't know their real names. I'm just like, I really like you because you're the voice actor of this one character, and I want to hear what I want to hear some of the things that you say, but I don't really care to like. I care, but I don't really care at the same time. I mean, it's cool that you're that person, but I kind of want to hear your take on how things were done and how you like make things sound fun and listen to fun stories. Because for the rest of that convention, whenever I passed him, he was hilarious because he was like just making fun jokes and just walking by. And eventually, like I didn't realize who I was talking to until I had a moment to open up my handy little guide from the convention, and I looked up his name and went, "Oh shit, that's the guy I was waiting to meet later." But now I met him. I didn't care, like, oh, that was awesome. And I ran into other people who were like that at other conventions, and I learned that it was more fun never to not go, "Oh, hey, you're that awesome actor from that one movie, and I know all your other works," and just be like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And just kind of walking by and just be like, it became more, hey, I just wanted to say I hope you have a really good day and enjoy your trip, or hey, how was the rest of the show been treating you? And just treating them like they're just people, and not go, "Can I have your autograph? I love all your work," and just be like, no, just treat them like a human being, and they're way much more fun to be around then. I wish I could spend more time, but you know what? They're busy people living busy lives. But from that point forward, now I was like, this is a cool guy. Also, I know he was trying to buy some candy bars because that's what he was doing behind me that day.
Hey Kai,
Yeah,
check out my Skeletor so far.
I like it. He's coming along really well. His face looks really good, and when you and the blending on the chest when it's done will look really good. Good base color so far.
I'm trying to fuck with lighting and get that, but I mean it's not eluding me. It's just that one of those things. This is my experimentation. I shouldn't be experimenting on a bust like this, but I'm proud of this so far.
I would be too. A couple more layers and a wash or two to help blend it all together, and that'll be great.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm
That
pretty. Hey, Crafting Gamer, how you doing? You want to take a look at this, sir? He's the one that made the bust, or at least printed it off for me.
that's so cool. No lies, that's cool.
He also sent me 3 bullets that you have a little tip that you unscrew. And
Yeah.
at first, we were kind of joking around because, like, I gave the box to Greg, like, "Hey, Greg, help me do this unboxing." And Greg thought, like, I said, "Here, Greg, have this box." So he gets the first Skeletor out, and he's like, "Oh, wow, this is all yours because you like Skeletor." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's mine." And then he pulls this one out, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And I'm like, "You're going to paint that?" I said, "I'm going to paint this."
Oh,
And then he pulls out the 3 bullets, and one of them is supposed to be for a peace offering for Greg, because Greg is like the I hate the chat, I hate YouTube, and I'm like, dude, they're really cool people. Just chill out. And we gave him one of the bullets, and then he realized just exactly how it was supposed to, because I read the letter. One was for my wife, one was for me, one was for Greg. The tips screw off, and you can put a whole Chessex set of dye in them. And it's cute. Go ahead.
I saw those at the very, very end of the streams. Like I only got in the last 30 minutes of your stream.
Okay.
And I saw the bullets. I go, is that turned brass? It looks so good.
Yeah, he did a fucking excellent job with the brass work on that.
Okay, so that's actual brass.
No, it's a 3D print.
Okay, because for a second there, I'm sitting here looking at going, is that an actual brass turned shell? Awesome.
Yeah. The Crafting Gamer says, "I met Robin Williams, and he appreciated the fact that the only autographs I wanted were from the movies that made me cry because he died in the end."
Yeah.
I can't remember the movies that he died in the end. That's the bad thing. And I like Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
God. I'm sorry this stream turned into kind of a dour stream of just kind of throwing emotions out. But
Dude, you did well. We got further into the domain play than I wanted than the other night because I was wanting to set up for domain play, and we went away from domain play the other night. Here we talked about it at least for 35 minutes.
And the thing is that everything I said is all things that could go into domain play. It's related to it.
Mhm.
It really, they're all things that to be considered and taken into it. And I know I got way off track, but I don't think it was in a bad way.
No, you did good. The thing I like about this figure the best, aside from the fact that the Crafting Gamer printed this off and shipped it over to me, whenever you're painting it, you want to paint the skin first because that way you can hold on to the cloak. You can hold on to this here,
Yep.
and that's your grip. That's what I love about this. This is such a cool bust, man. You did good. You did really good.
That's filament, not resin. Liquid resin cast. That's so cool.
Six Nation, 31 Kings. We're going to be doing this every other week because Kai's one of my good friends. I don't get to spend a lot of time with him when we're on a panel of 6 people. It's hard to get, hey man, what's going on? No, we don't do that too much. Six Nations 31 King says I met Bruce Campbell at a midnight show and a second time at the Boba Hotep premiere. He meets Fred Willard at a Ren Fair in North California. Both of them were very cool dads. We try to have that. We try to have conversations.
Okay, so you have two different kind of printers. That's cool.
I didn't realize that. That's just awesome. For those of you that want to see what more Kai has to offer, he has a spot in the Discord, and I recommend you want to go read some thought provocation. Kai's got a lot on his mind. I recommend it. It's Chimerian's Musings is a channel, and the Discord that we've got.
I've been a bit slow lately, but I apologize.
It's been almost 3 hours, and really appreciate the fact that like it went like fast.
It did go fast. Jesus.
Yeah. It's a fun account, fun time. I love having you in the panel with me because we feed off each other. And then there's other times where I just let you go for 20 minutes and you could fill up 20 minutes just by yourself. That's cool. You don't have to do that.
There's reasons why I do that. I'm just trying to fill air that other people aren't filling because dead air sucks.
No, you did fine because I was just painting away and getting experimentation on the skin for this character.
It was all off the cuff. I wish I didn't have anything planned there. It was just me talking for that long, and yeah.
Yeah, you typically never have to worry about note cards and what topic 3 is going to be. You just roll from organic thought process to organic thought process. It works very well for you. And I mean, I'm very super happy about the fact that, we always get a chance to do this, and the time, no matter what, it just always seems to burn away. Just
way too fast.
It's really fast. Kai rants are better than TED Talks. I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have a stage and a dorky headset to walk around and do funny little. Well, go around looking at a darkened audience of people who are going, ooh, ah, and somewhere off screen there has to be the applause button. God, I don't have that shit. I'm sorry.
No, we don't have that here.
No.
We'll
But
be
I
back
mean,
here in 2 weeks on what is today, the 10th. So that'd be 24th.
24th. Yep. We'll be back, and hopefully I might have written more. But don't worry if I don't. There's another year. There's still a year of stuff to go dig through.
Yeah,
And see
yeah.
whatever I haven't.
There's plenty of gold in them there hills.
But don't worry. I'm pretty sure the next 2 weeks of table breakers and/or gatekeepers and/or whatever else that happens in the universe, I'm sure something will come up and we'll talk forever about it. This is a never-ending well. You know that.
Looking forward to our next time we do this, Kai.
I am too. I look forward to it like so much.
When let me pull up the Blackout Coffee, and those of you that have a need, and it's called caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good coffee warriors out there. There's a lot of us that acquire that stuff on a frequent basis. I want you to have the chance to be at your best. I want you to have. Oh, today's the 9th. Nope, sir.
Well,
We're at
it's the
midnight
10th.
30.
It's
We're
the
at midnight
10th.
30 right now. Today's officially the 10th for us.
It is Dark 30 now. It's like, look, this is what I drink before every single time I'm on stream. So it's well used and well loved.
Go here.
It's decent.
You're looking
It's
for
good
a
coffee.
discount. Give you a discount right there. That's 10% with that number or with that checkout code, and they'll just register with them. They'll throw you more codes. You will never not have codes for
Yes, you'll
Blackout
never
Coffee. And we're working right now to work on getting some more codes from another coffee company too, because I do believe in having a nice, robust palate. But that right there will get you 10% off. Tamarian, what are you looking forward to this week before we shut down for the night?
I don't know. Maybe I'll actually finish more of this thing that's been eating my creativity now for the last 2 weeks. So that way I could actually create a domain. Everything I was discussing about this week today, I've been literally working on trying to figure out a way to make a system that will actually allow you to gate information and figure out how you can mechanically run and track all of these details I've been talking about, all these pages of notes, so that way I can have an easy way of having. But the problem is that it's slowly turning into the drink equation of game rules. So I'm not going to call it ready for anyone to look at, or it's going to be one of those. Here's a document. It's about 20 pages, and it's all various sub-equations for one major equation. So that way you can figure out all the modifiers, so you can make one roll, and have someone go, "Oh God, it's all charts." You know, it's like looking at the hallway from 2001, heading towards and all this is just numbers and charts flying by your head, and going, "How do I use this? This is dumb." And I go, "I know. But it's been eating my brain for 2 weeks, constantly, almost 3 now. Yeah, 3 weeks of insanity." But I'm waiting for whatever our topic is on Thursday. That's what I'm going to be doing, besides various acts of having fun.
Well, until Thursday, you can catch up with me and Kai in the Discord. Be more than happy to respond to any situations that you might be wanting to throw in front of us. We do. I will say that we really enjoy whenever we get feedback about a Table Breakers or one of these episodes here. So if you guys have something you want to put in comments or you have questions, throw it to us in the Discord, and we would love to make that to be something that we would all take a shot on. Maybe one of us has an unusual take on it. And
I'm
I
not,
really,
I'm not mean. You can write things to me. I will read them and I will respond.
yes, one of the nicest guys out there, really.
And don't worry, you can call me stupid, and then I will try to defend myself to make myself not seem stupid, or to say, yeah, I was stupid. Let me fix that. Which some people have done, and I've really appreciated that. I like when I make a dumb comment, someone goes, try not to be so stupid. And I go, oh, I shall not be so stupid. Thank you. God, that sounds so retarded. Oh, So what's tomorrow's movie?
What?
What's tomorrow's movie?
Today's movie we're watching in StreamYard is Constantine.
Okay, I like that movie. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow for the Monday movie. Yay!
7 p.m., sir. 7 p.m. in
That's-
Discord. We'll be down in the
Awesome.
general voice chat. We'll be watching this. Come on in, one and all.
Alrighty. Anyway, I'm gonna go get some sleep. I got something to do tomorrow. So enjoy the weekend, everybody, and have a good time. Okay? Thank you.
Fair enough. Everyone, have a great night. Look forward to seeing you here in about 13 hours.
Alrighty. Good night.